Fucking
You just
recalibrate.
yeah, it's like a mind shift, and then you're living
So like
the
he
dream.
was disappointed dad, but now he's just proud dad.
Yeah. He's proud of us.
Are we telling ourselves that, or is that what he really feels?
Well, at the end of the day, manifestation is reality. Here we are.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Something
you guys
like
would do
that,
without me.
Let's go, squad.
Okay.
We made it.
We lost.
I love that, as Eric said, that we got credit from Pat for only being 4 minutes late. Actually 6, 7. But the reality is it's an hour and 6 minutes.
That's an hour and 6 late. Steven was halfway to Best Buy when we figured out the hardware solution.
We figured out a hardware solution. Thank you, Caesar.
Caesar.
King Caesar, hail Caesar, figured it out in the
Savior
office.
of Rome.
Yeah, truly the savior
Hey
of
guys,
Rome.
I'm getting word that it is lagging and buffering. Did we not fix that?
Don't ask me that.
Jordan
Just
is
please don't ask
stuffing
Just
his
stuffing
face
it.
with nori.
Seaweed. Everything's gravy.
Don't bother him.
Don't bother him right now, man. The guys. You just like that
Chad,
stuff?
I was told that the lagging and buffering was fixed, but
Yeah.
apparently that was a lie.
Everything's a lie.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So it's not working. Can we continue forward or?
No, we're good. It's just buffering occasionally
Just
for some
buffering?
people. So sorry. Hopefully it clears up.
How bad? Am I good to move forward? Am I good for
Yeah,
to send it? Do it live?
Yeah, people seem to
All right,
say
Noah
it,
says
it
seems
seems
fine.
good now. So
Seems okay. ATM. It's okay now. All right. It
all
caught
right.
up. So,
God.
should I ask Steven how he feels? No.
Yeah.
Should I?
Yeah.
It's just gonna be a fucking
No,
venting
I
sesh.
think we need to-
All right, give it to me, Steven.
we need
It might
airing-
actually warm me up.
Airing of
Yeah,
grievances
can you
right
air
now.
them? Air some grievances.
I think it is so laughable that you guys think that you can start the stream at 5 and get here like 30 minutes before. It is high comedy.
So
Okay.
to be
High comedy.
fair, we were here
Okay.
an hour before.
We were here before you. Number one.
You were here 9 minutes before me because I had to go get the wine. Actually, I got into the building before you. You were sitting in your car. I walked into the
Yes.
building while you were in your car, so
Ooh.
I don't want to hear it.
Proof is in the blockchain, everyone.
What were you doing in the other room? Talking to Carne Asada. Chris,
I was giving carne asada.
You said you wanted 30 minutes of pre-warm-up time with us. You wanted to
you
lubricate
were
your
you
mind.
were doing things. I had to go give Chris
Everyone,
some
Steven
tips
had
on
a
some
special
hot cheap
request
alts.
to not just dive into the live. He said, "Warm me up, lube me up, Daddy. Sit down, talk to me, get me going." I was here for you. I
To be
did
fair,
that.
I was here before everyone, and what I chose to do at the time was crack a bottle of wine and just sit down on the couch and
Yeah.
drink.
I gotta say, Caesar, just
Caesar.
wow.
Wow.
I mean, honestly, wow. We got to get a camera shot on him pretty soon.
No
He
doubt.
told us the filthiest story I have ever heard in my life before we just went live.
Well, I did
I
post
don't-
a behind the scenes video of you guys as you're problem solving,
Oh
and
my
Caesar was in the
God.
background, so he has made a cameo.
I hope that story didn't make the cameo. That was
All right.
literally the filthiest story I've
Well,
ever
thank
heard.
you to Caesar.
That made all of my alfalfa sex stories look like absolute amateur hour.
I tuned out for that
I
moment.
look like
I'm
a
glad I
prude
did.
compared to him. Complete prude.
There was like a urine.
No,
Okay,
no,
anyways.
no.
Anyways.
No.
right.
We're not even thinking about touching it. We're not. It's no. Okay, so we're
all right,
here.
Emma
I have
made
an
it.
announcement. Daddy Nick, the algo, left me with some detailed instructions. If you will allow me,
All right.
please, Steven.
Were you guys on his instructions to set up the live stream?
First of all, he's got a great SOP here for us. He's really becoming quite the techno king. And yeah, we miss you, Nick. We'll see you next week. But Nick did us the honor of setting up something that's been highly in request from the community. So the community often reaches out to us in DMs or in the Discord or on Twitter, whatever, different places being like, hey, guys, really love the pod. How can I support you guys? And like even last week, like Eric in the Discord, not this Eric, reached out to be like, hey, we should buy this laptop stand thing for, Nick, for the host, and just start supporting in this manner. So here's what we got. We got version 1 of a new, wait a second, am I still on camera? Okay, good. I thought my head was cut off. So we got a lot of requests for this specifically, so this is what we decided to do. Most of you know that this is just a fun passion project for us, and it's not a business for us. We have our businesses, but people have asked us, hey, how can I support? I'm reading Nick's notes here specifically because I don't want to fuck it up. But we wanted to do it in a way where it made it more fun for everybody. We didn't just want this to be one of those things where it's like we run a bunch of ads or whatever, or just there's so many ways to support a show. So what we came up with is this. If you go to the link in our YouTube description, I hope it's there. If it's not, I'm going to give it to you right now, and maybe Jordan can drop it in the comment in the chat box. Streamlabs.com/alfalfapod. So we're going to set up some things for this in the future to make it more fun, where depending on how much you donate to the pod, you get different things that can happen during the live stream. But today, if you donate at least $9, your message will show up on the screen. And $9, because knowing you guys, if it was free, it would be a shit show. So streamlabs.com/alfalfapod. And also instructions from Nick specifically because he tested this. The credit card option does not work. You have to use the PayPal or the Venmo option. And the main reason we're doing this is because we say a lot of things that will cause our content to not be monetizable with YouTube monetization, and or could potentially cause us to get deplatformed. We really want to create a model that's like community centric. So we're going to try things out like this, see how it goes, hopefully not get banned by YouTube because we've been just keeping it consistent and real, and hopefully this makes it fun and engaging, and we'll come up with some more fun stuff.
We obviously need a lot of help.
Yes, we do.
I would be so happy if I could do this pod and just not lose money. That's like the main goal. I
don't mind. That's why they call it a passion project.
Yeah, not going to happen, pal.
Paying to entertain all of you guys in the chat right now. I love it. Speaking of which, before we go on, it looks like some of you freeloaders have not hit the like button. So you should do that. Thank you.
I'm going to like it right now.
Yeah, you should like it as well. Help boost the stream. Let's get more people in here. Get more people into the Discord because it is a wonderful place and we want more people to join. I know we've had a couple new guys trickling in this week, a couple lurkers coming out of the shadows, so that's been super fun. All links are alfalfapod.com.
Yep.
People can find the Discord.
Can
all
I-
that good stuff.
There is a pocket?
Can I talk to the elephant in the room?
Yeah.
This shirt that you're wearing currently, is there a pocket?
Yeah, does it show up on the camera? It looks very white on but there's a real pocket.
I've heard the
on this
fake
shirt.
pocket is in the real pocket.
We're gonna see if
Wait, this video is unlisted?
No.
Yeah. Calcium. What a fucking catch.
Jesus
Oh my
Christ,
God.
man.
Holy Lord. All right. Yeah, we got to put this to public.
Oh my God.
I am liking it on the inside. Lurkers be, lurkers be lurking.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
God.
unlisted. Jesus.
I don't have enough palms for my face.
Yeah, you got to edit. You got to edit, Jordan. Edit the video, and then you should be able to switch it to public while we're rolling.
God bless technology and our lack
Should
of
be able to
knowledge
switch
how to
it.
use it.
There it is.
Let's get to that point.
It's public? Oh my God.
Do you remember when I was on the YouTube page and I was like, guys, I don't see the stream, and you were all like, oh no.
So, Stephen, why don't you kick off with main topic of today, and then there's obviously some surrounding topics, but
Yeah, have we aired enough grievances?
yeah, we're gonna kick off with the Apple Vision Pro. I'm gonna look at this setting while you kick that off.
Yeah,
but
cool.
this is big. This is really big.
Is it big?
We definitely have a
Or
reaction.
is it a gigantic
big? It's $3,500.
nothing burger?
So
Expensive nothing
what's
burger.
the tax on that?
Hold on, yeah,
It's
'cause-
almost $4K
Well, here's
in
like
California.
what I'm thinking is like,
Well,
they haven't
should
missed.
should we tee it up first? Let's
go.
tee it up first,
Okay,
just
for
in
the
case
3% that don't know, let's give
people don't know. Apple announced the Vision Pro. It's the latest in a long line of these AR, VR headset thingamabobbies that keep coming out. That is the technical term for them. Did that 2 days ago? Was that on Monday they announced it?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't keep track of time anymore. I don't know what month it is. Yeah, so big announcement. A lot of controversy on the internet. Some are saying this thing is awesome. Some are saying this is an absolute joke. I think it's probably somewhere in between, but I'm curious
I
to
don't
get
know. I'd
curious
like
to
to
get
get
your
into
take
it.
on it. I know that you, Armand, have an opinion on this thing because
What?
you are
Why? Because I have opinions.
you're an opinionated
General?
person.
Ah.
So yeah,
Never had an opinion.
hit me up. What are you
Well, I
feeling?
haven't done. I have to say I haven't done like typically with technology. I get really excited and I do a deep dive. I can't say that I've done a proper, Armand level deep dive on this at all. So this is very much just first
Just
reactions.
tell me how you feel.
Which is I'll tell you how I
Yeah,
feel.
tell me how you feel.
So here's what I like about it. First of all, I think I always knew, and a lot of people that are at the forefront of tech always knew, and I agree with them, that if AR, VR was going to work, it was going to be Apple. Every attempt at making this thing a mainstream technology has been terrible. I personally hate wearing headsets. I don't like that I can't see out of them. I don't like the overly immersive nature of them. I've always felt that the future of humanity and technology is something like a combination of the movie Her and like Minority Report, where you have a blending of the physical reality that we already exist in, along with this like silicon-based level of reality and overlay of digital layers on top of the physical reality. That's the only way I can see human beings adapting to it, working well with it. And the first version of it is a version that has low battery life, that requires to be mostly plugged in, that is still rather large headset, but that I can easily see eventually evolving into a pair of contact lens or something really sleek and sexy that you barely notice, and it's going to be incredible. Now, we can talk about how that looks and what the features of this are, but what's important to me is that it happened, it's out, and sure, we can talk about it being expensive, we can talk about it being, like what's good, we can go into all kinds of things. But what I'm also impressed by is, so first of all, that's that. I think it needed to be Apple because there's no other company that today exists that can deliver a consumer good, a technology consumer good that people are radicalized for at this level. Now, they've had flops. They've absolutely had flops. I think
What's the biggest
big
flop
headphones.
they've
I think
had?
those big headphones were a flop. The $600 headphones, and I'm
Really?
a little bit nervous
No,
because I
those are
think that
amazing.
these remind me of that. No, but they didn't sell because they were $600. They were not a big mover. So like, people still just, I don't know many people. I know like 2 people that own those. Like, I heard they're amazing. I've tried them. They're amazing. But my concern is that V1 of this is not going to be widely adopted. It's a lot to already buy a $2,000, $3,000 MacBook Pro. If this could completely replace your MacBook Pro, and if you were the type of person that wanted to replace your computer with this new Vision OS operating system, then maybe you could like think of it that way. But to me, this is not a replacement for a desktop or a laptop. It's a completely new paradigm. You're going to need it independent of your other devices. You're just going to move between Vision OS, iOS, mobile, Mac OS. That's what they want. They want you to fluidly move between these different environments. And yeah, that's kind of my initial reaction. My favorite thing, though, is that you can just see through it. And like, if someone comes up next to you, it's not like, oh, what the fuck? I didn't see you there. Like, that's really important to me if I was going to use this thing, is like, you can hear things going on outside of it. You can see things going on outside of it. That's really important. So, yeah, I have no idea how it's going to actually feel and look and be. Though I also think the demo's probably better than what the actual reality of it will be. Demos are always better. We'll see how it actually looks and feels when you're in that world.
I think a lot of people think it's like a see-through thing, and it's not, right?
Maybe
It's
it's
just-
not.
Well, it's not like you can see through it. It's got like a camera, right? So it'll show you the world in front of you, but it's not like you look through it. And like you said, you feel queasy in these things.
I do.
And it's like a human thing. I think it's because we evolved out in the wild once upon a time. We've got this peripheral vision, want to see predators like sneaking up on us, and there's like something unsettling to us to have that just sort of blocked off.
Yeah.
So it feels unsettling.
It feels
and then
unsafe to me, actually.
yes, yes. So
Like,
something
as a
feels
man in
unsafe in your
general,
brain.
I feel very unsafe about that.
And oh, Max,
Max?
thank you. Is that the first
Max.
one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hold
we
on.
need an NFT for that.
First super chat or first donation?
I love that. First donation.
Max
on the
is
pod.
in the building.
I'm gonna have to screen grab that.
Hell
and,
yeah. Oh, I just broke one of the rules that Nick told me. God damn it.
What's
what's
that?
that?
It's not even, I can't say it. We broke one of the SOP.
But hold on. Did Max send a message along with
He
his
had
donation?
instructions, specifically instructions for this. I'm so sorry, Nick.
Nick would be so proud.
I used to be like in this role very much, heavily, like kind of like, yeah, I understand. I know. Nick, I'm sorry. Okay, what did you say? Back to you, Eric.
Oh, I'm with you, man. Like, I thought that this whole AR VR thing was kind of like a techno king kind of project for the nerds or whatever. And this to me anoints it as like, no, this is here now. This is the way forward. And I agree with you. This is also the first iteration, and like maybe this is just the first stepping stone along the way to that like Minority Report future. But it has to start somewhere.
Has to start.
And this is the start. This is like
So perhaps a better question is, what do you even think about, like, if you remove yourself and we reduce it down to not what it looks like and what it does today, but the outcome of what it's supposed to be, what do you think about that? How do you feel about a device that you're supposed to wear that is AR, VR, integrated overlay on top of reality to perform a lot of your work, games, messaging, your photo library, to live your life through this? How do you feel about that idea in general?
I think that like the more intrusive it is to our like physical being, the worse it is. But like I've always looked to like tech stuff, and you've said yourself like this is an inevitability. So that's how I feel. This is inevitability. This iteration of it is going to feel burdensome, cumbersome. It's going to look awkward. I think like this first instantiation is going to be like people who use it as a status symbol. Like, oh, I paid $3,500 to get this stupid thing that doesn't do that much. Right. But these are all just stepping stones towards the inevitability that, as you've described in our previous episodes, which I think is true.
I wonder if it makes this obsolete and or renders it to become something very different. I could see this becoming very small or very secondary to that primary vision device in the future. And again, I'm speaking very broadly here about what it becomes. A pair of glasses. I mean, the Google glasses were colossal.
What do you think
failure.
it ultimately becomes? Like contact lenses? Is that the final? No, the ultimate point is like
depends.
probably like
microchip.
I think
yeah,
that
it's like a
depends-
thing in your
yeah.
brain that literally puts
Yeah.
something in
That's
your.
the ultimate. But
That's like the
True
final
cyborg level. Yeah.
But I was like more intrigued by Steven. I was reading your dialogue in the Discord. You were talking about your potential use cases even tomorrow. Like if you were to buy these things, I was like actually kind of intrigued because my first instinct is always like the rejection of new technology. Like I'm like a late adopter by my DNA. So when Steven was talking in the Discord, I think you were talking about like, having a bunch of trading screens up on, and like you don't have to have like 5 different monitors anymore.
Yeah, isn't there like a huge width to this thing? Like, don't you get a ton of space
Well, you get 4K in each eye. Which is a just tremendous
How
amount
about
of
the
pixels.
fact that your eyes are the click like moving around?
Yeah, so I was watching a lot of
That's the part that blew me
people's
away
like
the most.
hands-on with this, and they all were like really stunned by how you could just look at. I think you
eyes
just
are the
look
mouse,
at you
right?
look at something and you just like tap your finger.
So your eyes are the movement, the cursor,
And this is the mouse click.
is your finger.
Wow.
Yeah,
Fuck me.
it's like it's just a completely new paradigm. Like we've been in the mouse keyboard paradigm for forever, right?
That looks so like Neanderthal compared to that.
Yeah, and like we kind of went to touchscreens, right? But that never caught on, right? Like nobody uses a touchscreen for productivity at work.
Too
I
slow.
guess some people who are artists use like an Apple Pen or something, but like somebody like me, I'm never gonna use a touchscreen. It just doesn't work. But this like feels like one of those things that actually could be just a totally new way of conceptualizing the workstation.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a workstation anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
I
you
don't
could
look
just
at this
be-
thing. Do you look at this thing as like in a personal way? Because I look at this thing and I go, if it does work as well as I think it could, like Eric, you've walked into my little space and you've seen how I work, like
Oh.
for seconds, just a few minutes.
This guy is so optimized. I haven't seen somebody click around the computer.
I'm a keyboard like junkie, like
Is
shortcut
this
power user. I've
investment
memorized
investment banker
shortcuts for
level, like in
every
Excel.
app.
Yeah, like
Yeah. Every
you're so
shortcut
fast.
is memorized because every second to me counts. And I'm trying to move so fast. So like, I could see this being a power user's dream come true. Like I could see productivity skyrocketing to a whole new all-time high for a lot of people like me who need more screen space or perhaps not just, it's not screen space, right? Because one of the things you want is focus, but the ability to like pull the thing you need to pull at the moment you need it in front of you. So like I'll push, Command 7 to do that because I know that space is there in Arc or whatever it is. But if I could literally just look at it and bring it forward, like that's faster.
It's even faster.
That's faster because I don't have to memorize anything. I'm using my eyes. So it's reducing the friction and speed. I mean, this is what Elon has talked about a lot, right? Like the challenge that we have, the reason we're not like complete cyborgs yet is because the challenge we have is that there's a problem. There's a gap between the pace at which our mind moves and our ability to perform that function physically in reality on our phone. Now, if you were to remove that barrier and make it so that the thought resulted in the outcome immediately,
Wow.
you are a full-blown cyborg at that point. And that's what I believe we're working toward.
That's funny that you bring that up because I read a tweet maybe a year ago or something where the guy said like it's crazy that somebody who's like better at clicking on pixels on a screen will make more money than somebody who's not as good at clicking on pixels on a screen. This is like applies to our lives.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is like it won't even be clicking on pixels. It's just like the thought will turn into productivity or money or outcome or whatever. It's like decreasing that
It
gap.
has to become that, right? Like that is ultimately what the merging of human and technology is. That is ultimately what AI is, in my opinion. I think a lot of the fears of AI are valid, but I think that the benefits are clear. We're ultimately creating a global human brain that can generate novel ideas that is integrated into the mind of an individual person. Once that happens and you have access to all of that information, like Google level repository in your brain, and technology has reduced the time it takes to perform the function to achieve the outcome, you're superhuman. We just took a very big step toward bringing the software component into the hardware that turns us more and more into superhumans, in my opinion.
But I think what's really interesting about this thing it's not necessarily the headset or any of that. It's like it seems like the big breakthrough is the eye tracking and the gestures. And I feel
I
like
agree.
that could be done just with a normal monitor, maybe even. Maybe it can't. Maybe I'm being an ignoramus. But the idea that instead of using a mouse, you just look at stuff and it's way more ergonomic. Like I have really nasty repetitive stress injuries from using a mouse all
pickleball?
the time.
Oh, from mouse.
No, but it does affect my pickleball, which really bothers me. I get very
Could have gone
twitchy.
pro, baby.
Get very twitchy at the net. I know. I need to see a neurologist, get some Botox in my arm or something. It's getting really bad. I have the yips. I now have the yips in pickleball. I had it in golf. Yeah,
Golf?
it's.
I don't believe in the yips.
I
Yips don't touch
for
me.
sure do. I've had it on like
Oh my God.
serving and tennis where I just forget how to do it. It'll happen like
I think I know what you're talking
mid
about.
match. I'm just like, what? How did I forget?
This is a total aside from the initial conversations, but if you go on YouTube and just search for some like yips videos, like the stuff people get the yips in is crazy. Like, do you remember Chuck Knobloch?
Oh yeah, second baseman, Yankees.
Second baseman, Yankees,
Oh,
and
I do
Twins.
remember him.
Like, he forgot how to throw to first base.
Yeah.
Like he was in the playoffs, a ground ball, 10 feet away, just throw it like
Throws underhand just because it's like,
Like, really?
yeah, dude.
incredible. Like he could not throw the ball like 15 feet.
Yeah, there was some pitcher on the Cubs forgot how to throw to first base to John Lester.
This is a
forgot.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know this is
there
a
have
real
been
thing.
catchers who can't throw the ball back to the pitcher.
Arnold doesn't get the yips, that's for sure.
Oh, let's
Can
talk
I
about
just
Arnold.
mention that
yeah,
for a
yeah.
second?
Let's talk about Arnold.
I am so pumped. So apparently this trailer came out 4 weeks ago. I hadn't seen it. My stepbrother is like the world's biggest Arnold fan. I mean, I'm talking about like we watched Pumping Iron as kids over 100 times. Over 100 times. It was just on all the time. And you know,
I've never
he
seen
went the
Pumping
route.
Iron.
He went the route. What?
Yeah.
Oh, cult classic. That's
That-
like not seeing The Big Lebowski, you know? It's at that level.
Yeah, I mean, what if you don't like lift weights a lot?
No, it has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with that.
It has nothing to do with
No, it has
pumping
nothing to do
iron.
with- pumping iron has nothing to do with pumping
All
iron.
right.
That's just the that's just the little story arc to illustrate the greatness of Arnold Schwarzenegger. It is a comedy. It is literally a cult classic for a reason. It's because it's just like the same way you quote The Big Lebowski, like
Pumping and
100
humping,
times.
baby.
It's just everything. So anyway, he went the path of like pursuing professional bodybuilding and everything. He sent it today. I had no idea. Apparently, it's out on Netflix today. But I watched the trailer before we went live, and I got pumped, man. Arnold is.
You love Arnold.
Wait, hold on. So what is
extremely
coming out?
Yeah,
inspiring
what is coming
today.
out? I didn't-
No, what is
But
coming
what
out?
is-
A
what is coming
documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Another one?
It's not Pumping Iron. That's from like 40 years ago.
So it's like pumping iron, but he's in a wheelchair now?
Oh, God. All right. You're not an Arnold fan, are you?
No, I like Arnold.
Okay. In a wheelchair. The guy's immortal. I want to know where
He
all my
said some
Arnold
dumb
fans
shit
are.
lately, but mostly he's cool.
No, he's fine. He's cool. He deserves the right to say. The thing is that if he had said that 20 years ago and was still at that age, he would have been seen as like cool and in. I don't want to like do that to him just because he's older. The fact that he's the age that he is and he's still so relevant speaks so much like about who he is. The guy has accomplished everything. He is, I think, one of the most. He's done many terrible things. He's had the extramarital affairs and the kids and the stuff, people he's paid off and all that stuff that came out. And he talks about that in the documentary, apparently. But I just find him to be a very inspiring person in terms of like taking the most impossible idea that you can imagine for your life and actually going for it and doing it. Like, how many people do you know like that in the world? All right. I don't have a podcast anymore. You know what I have? I have a couple guys that sit and look at the chat, would rather be chatting.
I'm not as big of an Arnold fan as you,
To
man.
be fair, there's
you guys
some
might
funny.
as well just be talking in the chat instead of talking to me.
Pat said, "Look, Apple headset seems great for golden showers," and I was like, "I am
my
distracted now."
I don't get it.
God.
Alan, get to the VR choppa.
I didn't know that. Arnold was a millionaire in real estate before he acted, says Max. Highly recommend his Tim Ferriss interview. His Tim Ferriss interview is very good. Tim actually did a very good job of that. Oh, it's because you mentioned that word earlier. That's why that came up.
What word?
The golden shower. You mentioned the.
Oh, I sure did. Yeah.
Look,
It was a
don't
Inception
blame me
moment.
for that.
Oh God.
Let's get back to Apple.
You want to bring it home?
Yeah,
onto
I mean,
Apple?
I think there's more.
I mean,
to go
there's a
into
lot
here.
to go
I definitely want
into
to talk
for
about this
sure.
more. What do you think of that idea? Of
Like, are you guys gonna
generally
buy this
moving
thing? Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm not into. I'm
Okay,
not into.
what-
I tend to buy.
What would
everything
make
Apple.
you buy it? Like, you're not gonna buy it just because it's out, right? Like, somebody has to build an app for it.
Yeah, I'm not
where you're
like a.
oh, I need that.
I'm not a
So
status
what-
symbol guy, but it will be. That will be the first use case. It will be used
See,
as.
I don't
status
look at it
symbol.
as a status.
Okay, you know what I would buy it for? Like, if they came out with courtside NBA,
Yes.
and epic, like just epic seating for sport, like, and it was just like a
Yeah.
small monthly subscription. You could just sit courtside NBA.
Immersive,
I would
like a more
consider it-
immersive
I would
viewing
everyone's
consider it
going to
experience.
that.
build for this. Like everyone already is going to build.
I think that's obviously a killer
Vision
use
OS.
case.
Like, I want to
applications.
hear the players talking shit to each other like I'm right there within
is
it.
this finally a use case for crypto?
No.
No,
Damn it.
no.
Thank you for asking.
I'm just hoping.
Well,
one day.
imagine if you get to a point where all the coaches like wear these little cameras, and it's like, you know how in Formula One you can kind of switch between cars and stuff. If you do that, like imagine you can switch to like coach vision, and then it's just like a timeout. You're just there, and like LeBron's just looking at you, and you're given like a
Totally.
that would be really
or like
cool
joining
for
the
people.
F1 driver in his car.
Oh my God, this would be unbelievable for F1.
Right?
Like, especially if they had the camera in a particular way where you could like actually look around. Like it's like a 3D camera.
Oh, it will
And
all be
then-
3D cameras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so then you can just look around at it. Like that would be
Everyone's going to build for
incredible.
this. This is Ready Player One.
So is this more GPU processing required? Is this like more NVIDIA necessitated? Is this like is this a
I
bull
have no
case?
idea what they're using. That's a good question.
It's above my pay grade,
We're not
sir.
Techno Kings.
No.
Can ask someone in the community about that one. No, I don't know if Apple utilizes.
But like every viewing experience will become 3D immersive eventually, is my understanding as I like sort of project forward. Like
Sure.
we will all like be able to, look around the arena and be a part
Well,
of
the
it.
question you guys are really asking is who is the target audience for this primarily at first?
Right now.
That's the
Yeah.
question. Is it going to first win with flexers, like people who just want to flex and signal, I got the money, I got the latest
I think
Apple
that's the
thing.
immediate use
That
case.
is an absolute no for me. Is it the productivity nerds? That's an absolute possibility for me.
Yeah.
If I saw that like Zoom became more productive, like, okay, here's a huge grievance I have. I hate running a distributed organization. On the one hand, on the other hand, I love it. I love that I don't have to.
Distributed meaning
Everyone's remote.
everybody's
It means
everywhere
there's a
and
kind
nobody's
of
here.
It'll be like
in like an office.
like hybrid
Yeah,
distributed
okay.
model of like people in different locations. On the one hand, it provides incredible sort of like flexibility. It provides you the ability to find people in different places and not require them to be in your city. It opens up the candidate pool on and on and on and on. People like it because COVID caused them to be more comfortable working from home. They view it as a perk, on and on and on. What I hate is the inability to just like talk to people. Like I can't walk over to Bob and be like, "Oh my God, Bob, I had this like thought," and that water cooler talk or that ability to walk over to someone's desk and have a conversation doesn't exist in distributed in organizations. If you could bring that back, where this is something that's just like sitting on your desk and you hear a little sound, and it just means like it's kind of like if you guys use Slack, it's like a huddle feature that they're bringing. If Slack huddle goes off, Slack huddle is meant to be like, I'm here, I'm in the room. And you can just put that on and it's like, oh, there's like 3 other people hanging out. And we're just talking, what are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about getting this new landing page live. Do you have any ideas for the headline? We're just talking. And then I could stay in for 5 minutes and leave. If it does stuff like that and makes brainstorming and whiteboarding and collaboration better, along with just like speeding up my keyboard shortcut productivity, I'm so in
But you're not going to wear this thing
all day.
your entire workday,
No.
are you?
No, that'd be terrible.
It'd be insane.
It'd be terrible.
There'll be a point where
Not
I think
this
you will,
V1.
though, right?
I think
Like,
eventually you will.
Can you see a point where these things are just as ubiquitous as monitors? Like they effectively replace a monitor. They
That's what
get
I'm
smaller.
wondering.
They're easier to wear. And people are saying that. I guess like they're gonna custom fit this to your face, so maybe it's not gonna be as uncomfortable as people say. But it's like it's a V1 product, so I'm sure it's gonna be not ideal to put on your head for 8 hours a day. But eventually, let's
That's what
assume
I'm wondering
it is.
if you can replace your workstation laptop computer with this eventually.
I think so.
Not V1.
I think so. Like eventually, and
Yeah.
then okay. So one of the problems I,
I mean, that'd
have,
be sick, right?
yeah,
All you do is you carry around a pair of glasses instead of a laptop, and
But-
it just all happens in there.
okay. Let me give you a concrete.
Everywhere.
Let me give you a concrete example of something I've always thought would be interesting. So I have a lot of information I keep track of. I have like notes. I'm keeping track of like all these different protocols and trade ideas and all this stuff. And it's hard to organize because the way we do it right now is we just have some sort of note-taking app on this 2D monitor.
Yeah, and if you're like me, you sometimes put it in multiple locations, so you don't even remember where you put it.
Yeah. But have you ever seen the guys who do the memory competitions and they talk about how they are able to memorize like 700 digits of pi or just random stuff? Right?
Memory Palace.
Yeah, and a lot of what they go through is they'll say like, "Oh, how did you remember these million things in a row?" And they'll be like, "Oh, so I envision like my house and I walk through the door and I look to the left and I have this thing here and this is sitting here," and they're like visually walking through a space and associating it with stuff. And then the brain connects with that very easily. So like I think there'll be like a new way to sort of like store, like I'm going to go back to the crypto stuff, right? It is so much random information. You want to keep track of all these projects that you're either in or you're watching for a trade, or is this like a DeFi token? Is this a gaming token? Doing that all in just like a 2D notebook or a spreadsheet, it just doesn't have the same impact as all of the other stuff you do in your life where you walk around and you interact with people, you remember things. Like I think if you shift to some sort of like paradigm where you have like a 3D workspace in a way, there's this kind of additional depth to it, then like something like an Evernote or a Notion, like maybe
Evernote died, brother.
Whatever. But like maybe we're like storing this information in more of like a 3D space that I walk around. Like when I think about the ETH ecosystem and I'm like thinking about an Arbitrum project or an Optimism project or whatever, I'm in a room and it's in like this corner of the room and there's like a bookshelf and I see all the stuff there and I open a drawer. I'm like, oh, this is my exchange tokens drawer. And I see that being so much more intuitive and
I think
better
you're
for
making
people.
I think what you're asking for is it's going to be way easier than that. So it's going to be more like this. Everything you do will be captured. Because what are you asking for? You're asking for the thing that you capture and the thought that you have to be saved and accessible more easily. And what I think is going to happen in the next 18 months.
I want it to be remembered and like visualized in a because Evernote is good for storing something, and if I want to access it, like I type it in,
you have to find
but it lacks that sort of where does this exist in some sort of space.
This is the power of AI. Like this is why AI is so goddamn powerful.
That's a pretty good use case, actually.
How does AI?
I already use an app called Rewind.
Yeah.
Okay. Rewind monitors everything I say and do and literally say and do on my computer. Okay. So substitute computer for Vision, Vision OS or Vision Pro.
Yeah.
That means that every interaction I have, all the information that I've captured, and every site I look at, every app I open, and every person I talk to, every text I send, everything is captured. So here's what I imagine, and this is easy. This is so easy. There's an app called Rewind or an app called Siri, and Siri will get better because Siri is in trouble right now because ChatGPT is so goddamn good compared to all these other ones that Google AI, which used to be the best, Google Assistant, which used to be the best, is going to play catch up to ChatGPT, and now Siri has to play catch up, and then Alexa has to play catch up. So you're going to have all these different options of assistants. But what is the assistant doing? It's capturing everything you do. And with the push of a button or the say of a word like Alexa or Siri, you'll just add to the information with your brain. So then what you have is a collection of everything you do and everything you witness and capture and everything Jordan says and Eric says combined with your own ideas. Because your idea's in your head, so you have to get it out. So you would just verbally say something. That would become your note. That would become your idea capture. There's no loss, no time, no typing, no note-taking. And it just goes, Siri, just remember that I have this opinion about this. And then at any time, you'll just say, hey, Siri, what did I think about this? Take me back. Rewind me. And you'll go back to that moment. You'll play the video. You'll literally you'll play that moment, just like fucking Minority Report.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
You'll literally go back and you'll do it. And I can do that right now on my MacBook with Rewind.
I hear what you're saying. What I'm saying is something different. What I am saying is more analogous.
You like that, though? You want that?
Yeah, I do want that.
Okay, good.
But it's still missing the thing that
What are you looking for?
So initially we had computers in the 1980s, and some of us who were that freaking old like interacted with them, and it was just a command prompt.
Oh, you
there
had
was
a computer
nothing
in the 1980s?
Yeah, like you had like those just very
That explains everything.
they were
You're like a 6-year-old with a computer?
Yes.
5 years old? Wow.
yes.
I was like 3 years old.
My
at the time.
grandpa was bringing over computers as soon as they were publicly
Wow.
available, and just
I didn't touch one until like 6th grade, I think.
oh. But the computer when it came out, and it was
Jordan's
just
like, what? I had one when I was a toddler.
Jordan was like -12. He doesn't know what we're talking about. When the computer came out and you had the command prompt interface where it was just text, it was just text based. And you play these games like Zork, where it was just like, I don't know if anybody out there has played this game, then like, but it would be like you enter a forest. It was just text based. It'd be like you enter a forest, a troll attacks you. What do you do? And you'd be like,
Fight back.
fight troll with sword. Type it, and then it
No,
would
I
just
played
do
these
that.
games.
Yeah.
I played like Italian Soccer Manager, like where you just chose the next move and it played a whole game for you. And yeah.
But my point is, all the data was there, but then we came out with like the GUI, the graphical user interface, and we got better at visualizing it in a way that people connected with. And then like I feel like a lot of what Apple has done has been to take this stuff that is just kind of like bits and bytes and data, and then make it more tangible and visual to us, and in a way that like kind of more seamlessly blends with our life.
That's literally their superpower.
Yeah. And that's what I see going here. So in a world where you can record and store data, all that's great. But that doesn't do me the same good as being able to like as humans, like when we store data in our brains, right? It's not just a bunch of text files on a document. It's like imagery and like sound and like sensory association. And I think that this allows you to kind of do a similar thing there. Like if you can have this sort of data capture thing where it's not just you're putting data in a notebook and retrieving it, but you can actually put it in a visual space somewhere, and you can interact with that visual space in a way that makes sense for your life and what you do and the information. Like everything will become like so much clearer. Like I feel personally like my brain would become so much cluttered. Like if all the stuff I had up there, I could just put it in like a room on all these bookshelves and
so
like
there's this
see where it is,
conversation
you know?
happening in the community about like what happens when you just don't have to do anything anymore. You don't have to remember anymore. And you get to offload all of these tasks. What you're describing is how mostly I feel. I would feel more light and free to work on other things and not have to be concerned with remembering so many things. At the same time, I look at that and I say, the power of memory is probably what keeps my brain sharp and functioning. What would it look like? How mush would my brain be if I didn't have to remember anything? There's this thing that Nick and I always talk about when we get in the car, and we always turn on Google Maps now, because that didn't used to be a thing, right? Growing up, you would print out a map quest, or you'd pull up a map on your phone.
I get
and they've
that.
studied this, and they've shown that like people's ability to like understand like the human GPS inside of the brain
That's atrophied.
has like completely atrophied.
Okay.
Like, no one knows.
But
north,
imagine
south,
that
east,
you
west
have
anymore.
like some like quantifiable capacity. If you can just offload that meaningless
and you
shit
can trust it.
and you can trust it, then you open your mind up to do more meaningful stuff. That's okay.
I think so. I think so.
But
what happens when the AI isn't there and you're in the desert and you don't know where north
oh well,
is?
then you're dead.
Yeah, you're gonna get eaten up.
I'm not talking about better ways to like recall stuff, but like what I'm talking about is a better way to understand things, right?
Yeah.
And there's no amount of AI being able to instantly spit stuff back to you that's going to make you understand
Well,
it.
I think your
right?
solution is actually optimized, and you should go talk to Johnny Ives or whatever, and like that would be awesome if you could implement what you're talking about.
No, I agree. Understanding is a different problem. I think that's a Neuralink situation. I think that's like Neo learning Kung Fu, right? How do you decrease the time it takes to
I want to like
input something into the brain?
maybe segue towards market kind of talk, but I want to finalize this.
Yeah,
Like, how do you guys
finalize.
feel about the money side of this? Like, is this going to move the needle for Apple stock? Like, I was following Apple stock. Apple stock, they did the Worldwide Developers Conference during market hours. Apple stock price was up, and then they released the $3,500 price tag on the goggles, and stock price crashed day of. And I'm wondering, do you think the market has it right? Like, is this not going to sell in the way that their other consumer products have, or do you think this is going to move the needle? And like, and even beyond that, do you think that this is like, are the sales of Vision Pro going to impact your view of the future, or is this just a stepping stone that's just like inevitable?
Such a well-phrased question. I don't know how it's going to perform. But I have to say, to the second part of your question, if it does fail, I don't know if there will be another attempt at AR VR.
Like
this is
if
critical.
this
Like,
doesn't
this is
work,
really
then
critical.
no other company's going to make it work.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think this is an important moment.
Yeah, I wonder how hard Apple's leaning into it. To the point, are they saying like, no, we're going to be the leader, or this is our tiptoe in?
I'm
and
probably
we'll
being
be
a
out?
little too like binary about the outcome. Like, for example, when Tesla first launched, the Tesla Model S was a very expensive car, and they just released a $30,000 Model 3.
I mean, even before the
years
Model
later.
S, they had like the Roadster that was pretty
True, true,
shitty
true.
and stuff.
The
Like,
first car though, like for mainstream, was this $120,000 Model S, and that was not accessible to most people. But it did put them on the map, and it did completely revolutionize the electric EV
Totally.
market. So, I don't know. Yeah, it could totally work. Maybe a small segment of people with the money or desire buy this thing, and that's enough to get to Model 2, and then to come out with cheaper models and more expensive models and all kinds of stuff. I think what's more important is the software. I don't think the hardware is
sort of
important.
the use cases for the device.
If the software is valuable and the user experience is valuable and has the wow factor that the demo did, the hardware will succeed and sell. This is not about the hardware.
I feel like it's entirely about the hardware, right?
How?
Like, well, couldn't we could put
Google
everything.
Lens was shitty hardware, but the reason it
Yeah.
failed is because the fucking software sucked too. Like, it
Okay.
didn't do anything. No one cared about
no
what
use
it
case.
did.
I
There's no
feel
use
like
case.
we have the technology to put everything that's in your iPhone in some sort of thing that you wear on your head right now, right?
That's what this is.
I don't think it is, and I think like there's some stuff missing. But like if they wanted to, they could do it. It would make it bulkier and make it heavier, right? But like we have a bunch of software that we are addicted to. People walk around with this phone. You go outside. There's people just in line staring at it, walking down the street staring at it. The software is there, and it's not like we don't have the ability to put that software in existing hardware. The problem, I think, is the hardware, and then also the way you interact with the hardware is no good.
What I'm saying by software, to clarify that point, is the Vision OS. That experience needs to be
Yes,
stellar
it's the unique software to that
to
device.
that device. It needs to be an incredible experience.
Like,
But that is a part of the like hardware as well, right? So
Fine.
like
of course,
the
they're two
vision.
sides of a coin.
Like you described earlier, you want to be able to sit courtside hearing the head coach talk to LeBron.
Exactly.
Like you can't do that on your iPhone.
that needs to be incredible.
but that's a software overlay to the hardware.
Sort of, but I think like I think the primary hiccup with this stuff right now is very hardware based. It's heavy. It sits on your head. It disrupts your peripheral. We don't have a good way of interacting with it. Like it's very intuitive. Like if you put an iPad in front of a 2-year-old, they know how to use it and they
Yeah.
touch it. It's very intuitive, right?
Yeah.
But like the idea of translating the keyboard or the thumbs to the headset realm is still like
I think
how do we
you even put a
do
headset on a
that?
2-year-old, they'll want to tear it off.
Yeah, they'd probably hate it.
Yeah.
Right. So I do think it is like largely
Well,
a hardware issue.
I like these points. So to start to go more toward the market discussion
Yeah,
around
yeah.
this, how do you think it will fare for Apple? And yeah,
I feel like Apple doesn't miss on like consumer products. Like feel like they've tested this shit and like they just don't miss. So like I'm bullish.
I agree that they obviously test the shit out of everything, and they have really good test groups, clearly, because by the time they come out with something, it's like super ready for mainstream. Like the AirPods were one of the greatest things ever.
And people hated that. Like they have a
hated them.
strong track history of coming out with stuff that ends up being revolutionary. That is just panned
remember
by
AirPods?
critics.
Remember AirPod 1 reaction?
Yeah, people were like,
Like,
"These are
this
the."
is the ugliest.
Yeah, people
dumbest thing
hated the
ever.
AirPods. They hated the iPhone.
doesn't
They're like,
have
who's gonna
AirPods
not?
now?
I like my physical BlackBerry keyboard. Like that was wrong, super wrong.
It's a trend-setting company, and a lot
crazy.
of people say it hasn't been the same since Steve Jobs, but sure, of course, but it's still setting trends.
and Jobs placed Tim Cook. He handpicked him. He kind of
Yeah.
knew. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, so I'm bullish Apple. I'm more bullish Apple than I. Oh, I don't know if I want to say that. I mean, Nvidia is a company to be very bullish about, but honestly, I don't know. Ugh, that's tough. That's really tough. But I do think I'm more bullish Apple than Nvidia long term. I just think that Apple has a stranglehold, and we're talking about a consumer goods company. There's just consumer. It's
Yeah.
electronics company. It's just not even a fair. I shouldn't even. They're just not even comparable.
Yeah.
But let's switch gears to Coinbase.
Let's talk some money.
Let's talk
money
some
talk.
money. Let's talk Coinbase. Let's talk Binance US. So
Wait,
first Binance.
before we
got-
go, I forgot. I had one thing I wanted to get off my chest that I wanted to know if anybody else thought. Did you guys listen to the Apple talk with Tim Cook?
Yeah.
The Worldwide
do you mean?
Developer
Yeah.
Conference.
Okay, when I heard it for the first time, I thought somebody overdubbed Mr. Garrison's voice onto Tim Cook.
I did not.
And I
did
thought it
not
was
think
like a
that.
prank, and then I realized it was actually Tim Cook's actual voice.
Do you mind doing a quick example of what that sounded like?
I
to
don't
you?
know if I can do a Mr. Garrison thing.
What
but
is
it's
it?
like-
What
it's
is it?
like, oh, the iPhone Pro, is so good. You're gonna love it on your face.
That is it.
That's a good job.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, we got another. What did it say? Where's
Not
From
Nick.
not Nick.
All right. Well, thank you, not Nick.
Oh, where's the
the
hands?
handsome one at?
Oh, well, he's right here, Nick.
Damn.
You just gotta switch
Man
the
with-
camera over,
man with
Jordan.
the mustache,
You
obviously.
just switch the camera, Jordan. He's
You want
right
a
here.
mustache? You want a beard? What would you like?
Nick, not Nick.
Splash
Oh,
brother.
thank you. Oh, we also forgot to talk about the boozing, and we're so bad at this.
What do you got for us, Steven?
All right. So I brought you some Paso Robles wine.
Okay.
For those who are not familiar, Paso Robles.
The other
little-
one was Paso Robles too.
Yeah, a little wine region here in California. It is now the value wine region. If you want a nice Cabernet and you want to spend $70 a bottle, you want to spend like $25. Paso is where it's at.
Rabble.
I was looking for 3 or 4 other bottles. I forgot I was supposed to bring the wine today, so I did it last minute. So I went to the
Did you
store.
appreciate my reminder?
I would have if I had looked at it earlier.
Well, hold on. You had a bottle from
but it
last
still
week
was
because
good.
you were
Just remember
a
Sean.
week early last time.
Yeah, the whiskey. I decided I didn't like. I decided it wasn't up to my standards, so I ended up leaving it.
Oh, I
Sean
figured you
formula.
drank it by
You came up with-
yourself.
I did have a couple glasses of it, and it was pretty good, but I don't know if I want to put it out there. But yeah, the Paso Robles is good alpha for the viewers out there. If you
Paso
want
Robles
the
is good.
you want the California Cabernet.
if you want the California.
I wanted to bring a nice bottle of Austin Hope. I like Austin Hope.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really good. Was it? It's like 30, 40
love
bucks
that-
a bottle.
that-
it's probably about as good as an
I
$80.
love that entry level.
Napa
Is
Yeah.
that another Paso? Austin Hope?
Yeah. I love Justin. I know it's like very basic bitch. I love
The
I love
Justin cab is pretty fucking legit.
It's pretty primo
It
for like
doesn't
in
quite
mid
do it for me. I
20s.
prefer the Austin Hope, I think.
Well, Austin Hope's a lot more expensive than Justin though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, there's a new Austin Hope. I don't know if it's new, but it's the entry level one, the $25 one.
They have a
I
few
love
now.
that one.
Like have you had
It's just called Austin. With
Austin?
big,
Yeah, Austin's pretty good.
big, bold.
They have
big
another one
all
called
caps.
Treyana.
Yeah, I've had Treyana.
That
like
is,
Treyana.
I think, way better
Treyana's
even than
great.
Austin, and that's only like 23, 24 bucks.
Yeah.
So,
So in our
yeah.
in our original alcohol episode, you guys talked about old world wines,
Yeah, this is not my jam.
and then I
anymore.
went to.
I mean, I love it. Thank you.
so I
Steven,
went to
but-
France, and I went to France and Italy.
Well, I use Z-Biotics now, so everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I'll drink anything. So we went to France and Italy, and I was like open to a whole new reality of wine, where I was like,
Dude, yeah.
like I don't like California wine gets a lot of credit actually these
Worldwide.
days worldwide, and I'm under enthused. This is good, but I'm under enthused on like a more table wine level. You know, like anything in like Tuscany is good. Anything in like Loire Valley of France is good, and it's like I think in Paso and Napa, it's like you got to find it because it's not all
Right.
just good.
No, it's
Right.
not all good. No, it's not like when you go to France and if there's like a certain part of the hill in this region, just everything is incredible. But there's some
Standards are
gems.
just much higher.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a taste question. Like, it is so clear when a wine is old world or new world for me. And I think for most people that have drank, I'm not trying to be like a wine guy here, but like I think
You're
you
trying to
drink
be a
enough-
wine guy here.
No, but I think even just like as an amateur,
You said the
drink-
word old world.
You drink enough wine, and I put old world, new world in front of you 10 times. After 10 times, you'll know. Yeah, and you'll be like, you'll know which one you prefer.
Like yeah,
You'll
and I
know
think
what you
it'll be.
prefer.
I think 7 out of 10 you're gonna like the old world. In
I
my
don't
opinion.
know. No, I think most
Subjectively, you
people
think it'll
prefer
be
the big, bold, fruity, in-your-face, punchy nature
very
of New
approachable.
World. So
Speaking of big, bold, and
Interesting.
Old World
fruity,
is not for everybody.
have you guys had Del Dado?
Yeah.
I did. I
Yeah.
went to my buddy invited
Special
me to a
occasions.
Del Dado tasting on Monday night.
Yeah.
They're notorious for just
That's a casual Monday.
like.
Oh
they-
wait, that's why you were so hungover
Oh,
on
that is
Tuesday.
why he was
yes,
hungover.
that is why I was so hungover. They're-
No Z-biotics.
What I love about them is so you go wine tasting at some places and they pour out a little shot glass or something and they pour it in and
Right.
they're notorious. Like you go to their little wine tasting thing in Napa.
pours, man.
Yeah, they do it out of the barrel. They like take a little dropper and they get you just absolutely shit
Yeah.
canned.
Everyone
They
gets
love it.
wasted there.
Wait, where's Del Dado based out of?
and it is
Napa.
a very, very cool winery.
It's
Like, you go
good.
to the
It's like the
cave.
ultimate like juicy big Napa thing. And
It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean
These
they
are
had
expensive bottles.
Yeah, they
So
had
were
like
you
a
in
free
Napa
thing
on Monday?
for their VIP people on Monday, and I have a buddy who buys wine for them, so he invited me. Thank you, Pablo. And they just knocked us on our socks, and I was like, yeah, free thing. And
Where
then
was
obviously
it?
I got drunk and bought wine, and
So I'm going up to
the
Napa.
Valencia Hotel.
I'm going up to Napa
Nice.
in 2 weekends with Mina. I'm gonna need to get some recommendations
Go
from
to
you
Del
guys.
Dado.
Del Dado.
Yeah,
If
definitely
you
go
want
to
to
Del Dado.
drink and have a really good time, go
Oh,
to Del Dado.
It's a great time.
I'm the type of guy that's into that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've heard.
I can see that. You get the
I have a
mustache.
few more
too.
like under the radar ones, but Napa's a shit show. It's going to be busy everywhere,
I hate that.
but you know what? Like, just go for it. Book a time at Del Dado
Okay.
so you get a proper experience. But
Cool.
there's so many.
Yeah,
so
we
many
should we
good
should do a little
spots.
Napa spiel at some point.
I prefer Sonoma and like Paso Robles and like Napa's
I haven't
just very busy.
actually been to Paso yet. I'd like to
No?
go.
It's
I'm a
busy.
big
I like
fan of
Santa Barbara.
Sonoma.
Maybe the
Santa
most.
Barbara is cool too.
Yeah.
It's like so nice that we can just drive to all those places.
Right.
Oh, love it.
Okay.
All right.
So-
pivot back.
Yeah, thank you. So I was asking you about.
Yeah, you're asking me about
Crypto, and
coin
you
or
had to get that
crypto,
off
and
your
then
chest.
yeah, I just talk about
Okay,
Mr. Garrison and wine.
So-
it is what it is.
like let's dive into this. Like Binance. I mean, this is pretty concerning, and we've just been drinking and laughing the whole time. Like this is a big deal.
Yeah,
Is
it's been a
this
shaky.
concerning?
It's been a
Like-
shaky
Like,
week.
and we're like an hour in, and we're just bringing this up. So like, I think we need to really.
well, I like that we
hit
didn't
this.
lead with it.
Yeah.
So
I
kinda
do.
got
previous
all-
iterations of Alfalfa would have led with this.
Right.
Then now we're kind of leading with more fun shit and then getting into the money. This is just like an evolution of Alfalfa,
It's an evolution.
which I like.
Yeah.
Show me
So-
the way, baby.
So you want to talk about what happened real quick, just to catch people up?
Yeah, I mean, quick overview in markets this week. So on the equity side, stocks have been kind of up only, but they're looking shaky now. We had
Sold
a couple.
Tesla today.
Yeah, we had a couple days where it doesn't look good. I think it's just gonna be a pullback. We can talk about that later. But stocks don't look good, and then crypto really doesn't look good because on Monday, SEC came out. Basically, it just launched all of these charges against Binance, world's largest crypto exchange. Like basically just threw the book at them. Some of the stuff is not good, no matter how you spin it. I mean, they came out and declared Solana, ADA, Sand, like a whole bunch of tokens, outright securities. Said Binance was wash trading, basically just driving up the price of coins artificially, commingling user funds. They had some literal quotes from I think Telegram messages that they got somehow, and some of them are funny / sad. Like a quote We're literally operating an unregistered securities exchange, bro.
That's the internal messaging.
That's not what you want in your internal filing there. So yeah, but we dumped hard on the Binance news on Monday, obviously, and then Tuesday, SEC also came out and announced that they were suing Coinbase. Dropped a bunch of allegations, charges on Coinbase. We dumped initially, and then like mega rallied. Actually, we just came all the way back up, erased the whole gains. But then today, the market, I think, had some second thoughts, and we redumped. And ETH has done pretty well, actually. ETH's probably one of the best performing coins in the market. Bitcoin, a little less so. But then stuff like Solana, ADA, I heard that Robinhood might be like delisting stuff like Cardano because they don't want to deal with that. So
Really?
ADA got absolutely destroyed. Solana was down like 9-10% at one point today. Matic, which was also named explicitly. So a lot of these kind of mid-tier, kind of high-cap crypto coins just absolutely annihilated right now. And I would say ETH and Bitcoin are hanging on by a thread.
Resilient in the face of all this.
Resilient, but on like they're like on the cliff with like one hand up there, and that kind of everybody.
Like
I think
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, it is.
Sylvester would
It is
crawl
actually,
back up. I don't know if he's going to
cliffhanger.
crawl back.
It's cliffhanger right now.
Cliffhanger.
For sure.
Sly could do it.
But yeah, I mean, Gary Gensler has been doing the rounds on all the CNBCs and everything, and he's gaslighting like nobody's business. I don't know if you
such a
guys
toad.
have you guys like
Yeah.
watched the stuff
I
he's
don't know.
saying.
He's
Yes.
a toad.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
like-
I've been watching this toad.
he's
I have
like
been
he's
watching.
like
I
he's
don't
like
know what that means, but I like it. It
Yeah,
just
I think
fits
it's
for me.
accurate.
Just
Oh,
fits.
he has
He's a
like the
toad.
most punchable of faces. There's something about his face that is so perfectly like
It's just politics, man. All these motherfuckers. I'm sorry. All these people, man. Like it's just grinds my gears.
Well, dude,
it's all bullshit.
I think like
it's all bullshit.
you and I have talked about this outside of the podcast. We've talked
This is
about
coming.
the looming war,
It's here, bro.
and this to me signifies
Declaration.
the declaration of war.
Absolutely.
And here we are, and like
So, like, well, what did we see before this? Because, like, Coinbase already obviously saw this coming.
Sure.
And they've made these statements being like, we're trying to be compliant. We're trying to have these meetings. We're trying to submit what is necessary. We're not getting the response necessary. We're not getting the guidance necessary. They keep putting the blame back on the SEC. I don't know how accurate that is. And I also don't know how accurate what the SEC is. I don't know who's telling the truth. But what I do know is that it's war.
Yeah.
Coinbase is telling the truth.
I
mean,
believe Coinbase is
they
telling
are
the
telling
truth.
the truth.
That's
but
why.
I
That's
believe
why
that too.
he's literally gaslighting Gary right now. He's on TV and in these filings saying like, "There's a procedure for registering. You just gotta come to us and blah blah."
Well, the
and then,
reason
like,
I agree with that is because if I had to pick one that's corrupt, it's the
It
other
is.
guys. It's not Coinbase.
But I'm specifically remembering, and I think you would also remember this conversation that we had in Seattle at this cabin with
Yeah.
David Hoffman. Everyone was
into it.
asleep except for you and I. We stayed up till like wee hours in the morning
talking about
the
SEC?
war that's coming. And
Talking about this conversation of what's coming that we felt like we don't talk about enough on this pod and we don't talk about enough
like
as
no
friends.
one's talking about
And
it.
we were like, we're just constantly talking about which number's going up.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about this like clear, obvious existential threat. And the fact that it doesn't matter whether Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano or Fuckcoin is better. What matters is this entire
Actual coin, by the way.
industry or
Yeah.
Rocket. It's this
Also
entire
actual coin.
industry versus the SEC.
and all the
versus the
participants
powers that be.
all the participants within the industry are infighting amongst
Yes.
each other, not fighting the actual war. And now the
Yes.
war is on our shores.
Okay, I
And
think
now
the
they're
only
picking
ones who are
apart
infighting is like, I
individuals.
think the Bitcoiners,
No,
like
every-
the maxis are the main ones.
No.
Within themselves, no.
No,
No.
everybody is united
Wait, wait,
against
wait, wait.
Gary right now, except these kind of like 2021 like new Bitcoiner maxis who are like, haha, told you you're security, and like he's not going to come for them next, you know?
Like,
and it's like this.
That might be
It's driving me
true. That might be
crazy.
true, but I think we're like missing
Well, who do you think is
the
infighting?
forest.
I'm
For,
curious.
I think we're missing the forest for the trees. Actually, I don't actually care who's infighting. Like what I want to talk about really is that when you get into war, war gets bloody. it turns into a massacre, and like it doesn't actually matter who's infighting. Like this is gonna get fucking ugly for all parties, and I don't think that it's time. Like this is my take. I don't think it's time to like think about who's infighting. I don't think it's time to think about like. I think it's time to just like dig in. It's like time to batten down the hatches.
I think what Eric's saying, what I also believe and what I'm agreeing with is like, I hear you that like when Gary and the SEC is taking these actions, it causes unity. It's like if the aliens show up, finally everyone stops fighting on this planet and comes together. Like, of course, any existential threat causes that. But that's not what we're alluding to. It's what happens before the aliens land. What happens before Gary shows up? There isn't enough collaboration. There isn't enough communication. There's constant, like, just this, it's an ego fest of who's going to be the winner.
Right.
We're better than you for this X, Y, or Z reason. And we're saying that is having your eye off the ball. Like that is what's going to cause the collapse of the entire.
I have such a different take on this. Like I think that the amount of collaboration in crypto between people who should be like absolute cutthroat and competitors is like actually incredible, and it would never exist in like the normal free market. I think there's a lot of that, and I think we should acknowledge that. I think it's one of the cool and unique things about this industry. Like you have like, you have like an Arbitrum and an Optimism who in like the normal world would be just absolutely tearing each other down in like a just some sort of like bloodthirst battle. But there's collaboration going on. It's been like a hallmark of crypto, and I don't want to lose that.
But we're not fighting a good fight. Like,
well,
what is
there's
happening?
I agree that we're not fighting a good fight against the government, but I don't know if I would agree that we're necessarily like infighting.
Okay, fine.
That much.
Fine. But if you really look at like what the deeper thing that I'm saying and we're saying is by not resolving and coming up with a clear strategy, we could lose. The entire thing
in the
United States could lose.
The entire thing rests in the shoulders of Coinbase at this point. That's where it rests right now, and we as participants are trusting in Coinbase to win this fight. And like I don't know what we as participants can do other than like emailing our congressman or whatever. But like I think when you get into war, like that's what it fucking takes. Like it takes everybody rallying around to fight back. Like, and there's no like leader to say like, hey, rally, let's all fight back. It's all fragmented. It's all kind of like shitty. And it might not be infighting, but it's not united.
So how do you think this plays out in general, not just for Coinbase, but, as this sort of plays out, like if things do not go swell in the United States? Well, first of all, I don't know if it's about it going well or not, because on the other side of this argument is that this is finally causing the pressure to gain the clarity necessary for the market to move forward. Like
this is like
we need this guidance.
Okay, this is like Armand Leadership University. Have the hard conversations.
Maybe that's what's happening.
And like ultimately they have to be had. You have to have the hard conversations, but we've been putting them off.
Maybe Gary was gaslighting, and maybe these things were happening. Maybe Coinbase did do its best attempt, and maybe big dog SEC was like, we don't want to play it on your terms. We're going to do it on our terms the way we want to, and come slap you as we like and be in the position of leverage. Fine. But if that's true, this could just lead to greater guidance, greater clarity, and things could become very good for the crypto market on the other side of it.
This was a necessary conversation ultimately.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no one knows what the fuck anything means in this market. No one has any guidance whatsoever. So,
but I think
see the positives.
What you were sort of alluding to is like, well, how do you play it in the interim? Like how I'm playing it is like, I do not want to be Sylvester Stallone hanging on by one arm and like having optimism there. Like I would rather, have my bungee cord rappelling down, So
are you exiting your ETH BTC positions?
I have like my forever bag that will be forever, but you know what? Like I'm pessimistic on all the coins, which I think spits in the face of Steven's takes leading up to all this. So like, I think it'd be interesting to hear from both of us.
My general feel on this is I feel like a lot of people are like, this is war and war is just beginning. And like, my gut is that this isn't the start of a war. This is sort of like the last kind of like Hail Mary being thrown out there. Like, I feel like the last thing they've wanted to do forever is to actually go to court and have some sort of final decision and regulatory clarity. And like the fact that they're doing this now, I feel like, especially given that it seems like they're going to lose the Ripple case, I don't know. I see desperation. I think it's important to kind of zoom out and ask, like, why is Gary doing this, right?
That's what I'm wondering. Why did clarity need to be provided in this way that feels like an act of war? Why was it not provided when it was asked for?
Because
Why
the
was it
goal
not
of
done in a
Gary
cordial
Gensler
manner?
is not to provide clarity. The goal of Gary Gensler is to carry out the sort of whatever, like the desires of the people who put him in power. It's not to
Yes.
give people, like Gary Gensler was not protecting me when he tanked my Coinbase stock by 23% overnight the other day. He's not protecting investors.
He wasn't
by
protecting
letting
anybody
Coinbase
against
go public and then like
FTX or
blowing
anything,
up their
you know, like,
investment.
he
that's
literally did
all
nothing to
bullshit.
protect
It's
anybody.
all, it's all complete bullshit. Like, he does not exist to protect investors. He exists to advance the interests of the donors who put him in power. Who are the donors who put him in power? Probably a bunch of Wall Street people. Like, these people are not like the Jamie Dimons of the world. They're not stupid. Like, I don't think Jamie Dimon is sitting there thinking like, oh, the dollar's great and it'll always be the
So
dollar,
this is what
and
I
like
said
banks are going to
about
live forever.
corruption, right? If I had
You
to
know?
pick one who's more corrupt, so, does that not ever just make you guys, I don't know, like just feel awful and nihilistic about crypto?
You can feel that way. You can just say like, look, it is what it
Like,
is.
how
That's the way
does
the
it-
world is.
Yeah,
That's the
it
way the
is
world
what
is.
it is, but it's very unfortunate.
Right, but like crypto is like an out to that.
This is like our mechanism to fight back. I think that's like that is the citizens out.
I think this is sort of like an admission here that
Sure, that's what the
They're
manifesto
losing.
If the powers they can control the ramps, and if the powers can control like ultimately a stable coin, like a USDC, sort of like CBDC,
Yeah.
then like will we ever have a chance? And is this all
Yeah, isn't that supposed to come in July or something?
Right.
I don't.
Will this
I don't,
all just
I think it's
be-
a Balaji talking point or Balaji or whatever.
Like I said, I don't think he's wrong. I think he was an over-inflammatory, hyperbolic.
He was
way to
extremely
get
wrong. The
attention.
price of Bitcoin, I can tell you, is not very close to $1 million, unfortunately, for my portfolio.
yeah, I mean, the way there's two things. There's the content of a message and the delivery. I
He
think
was wrong about $1 million Bitcoin.
He was
but
wrong
right
about
If
actually
Balaji was a
both.
trader, nobody at the prop firm would be like, he's directionally correct. He lost all of the money because his timing was off by 9 years.
No,
but
I
like, he was
actually don't
directionally
even think
correct.
he's directionally correct. I think what he's saying, he got the result wrong. But everything that he said was correct. But
But
he got wrong is
No,
what
everything
the
he said.
resulting,
God, I don't want to
I mean, like,
litigate
that's-
this though.
everything underneath, like all the examples are correct. What that means as a result is incorrect.
I don't know who he was talking to because, like, I don't know if he captured any new audience because everybody that's ever been in crypto already sees exactly what he sees.
Right.
Like, so it's not a new message. I think I think his message only reached crypto people. I wonder if it reached anybody outside.
I definitely got texts from non-crypto people.
So I
That
mean,
got a lot of
and I wonder if
attention.
that actually
thing was huge.
I wonder if it burned them because they bought Bitcoin
did.
high and now it's like lower.
Oh,
and
of course. It burned those people more than anything.
well, the new people, yeah.
Yeah.
So does that affect the desired outcome that he was intending? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That Balaji thing is, yeah.
Look, there's some intersection here between the Balaji thing and the SEC thing. I think there is a realization by powerful entities that there's this sort of like changing tide, that the current system is like on its last leg. There's a regime shift about to happen, and powerful players who are smart are not going to fight to deny the shift entirely. They're going to fight to position themselves to be in like a advantageous situation when that shift occurs, right? So I don't think like Wall Street is trying to like deny crypto via Gensler and just like totally kill it and turn it to zero, and then like the dollar will reign supreme forever. I don't think anybody with a brain thinks that. But I do think that there are interests who think that they can handicap it, that they can maybe harness it, control it, capture it to a certain extent, delay stuff to the point where they can kind of get their mitts and stuff. And I think it is tied
What about
to the stuff
closing
Balaji's
ramps?
talking about.
Do you think there's part of that happening?
Yeah, like I think closing of the ramps, right, is a way to suffocate the existing players.
Sort of a trump card, you
Yeah,
know,
like
and they have that.
If you're a U.S. citizen, what do
Okay,
you do?
so can we get into this now? Because here's how I see the war playing out. I think this is interesting. Because like if the war is on our shores, let's talk about the war. Here's what I perceive to be the near future, and you know what, I think this is going to be good fodder for Steven because he's like taking the opposite side of this. Maybe he doesn't. Here's what I see. What I see is this. We've had 6 months of up only. You know, this is like NASDAQ, crypto, etc. We have like high prices on a relative basis to where we were before. We have a new war that's on our shores. We have liquidity that's supposed to come out of the Fed. We have like a bunch of bear case scenarios that like leads me to believe that price is going to go dramatically lower. Like I can't find a reason to be bullish other than everyone sees bearish. That's like that's my only that's like the only feather in my cap right now. And for me, like I want to get short so bad, I'm just scared of stepping in front of a train. But all I see right now is like this train is going to reverse.
What do you think, Steve?
I just have like the complete opposite viewpoint now. Like
Yeah?
I think the AI bubble is just starting. I think there will be a pullback. Like I've been saying, like we're probably gonna get a pullback. This happens a lot in bubbles. You get some big sell-off, right? They don't just go up. You get some nasty sell-off. Like if it was as easy as like these tiny dips that you just buy into and you go up and you 10 extra money, like everybody would do it and there would be no opportunity there. But what happens is you get these nasty sell-offs. You get a bunch of I told you so's, like the bears come out, the narrative gets really strong again. But then everything just goes up. Like I think AI is just getting started. I think crypto is sort of just getting started. I think crypto is interesting because there is this divide right now that we haven't seen before, where good coins are going up and bad coins are going down. We're so used to crypto just being this like everything goes up or everything goes down. And then when everything goes up, you want to just buy the dumbest shit possible. And when everything goes down, you just want to buy cash.
God, I hope you're right. I hope you're right because I live in a world where I like to long good, short bad. This is like my ideal trade. But I just think that I don't think that ETH is going to go higher.
I just don't see who's left to frickin' sell ETH at this point. Like we've just liquidated everybody. Nobody is here except crypto natives. We're
Right.
burning more of it every single day. People are selling their shitty coins that are going down that have like 11% annualized inflation
That's
for
true.
like the good coin. And
More
I
there's
and
think
demand.
more.
both are correct. I see both of those as correct. I just don't see where the
I'm not saying it's not going to go down, right? Like
I just
I
don't
think
see the demand coming in.
there is
market.
built-in structural
That's the problem.
demand for ETH, though. Like that's the beauty of it, right? It is just programmed to go up at this point. Like unless you show me, like that developer activity is dead, the usage is dead. But that's not the case. Like I see a lot of exciting stuff when I look at it now. I see people innovating.
Oh, I got a reason for demand to be dead. Okay, so we were talking about this. We were alluding to this the entire time. So like Binance gets sued by the SEC. They just today announced they're going to delist all of their trading pairs on Canadian exchanges. Like in Canada, you can't trade any trading pairs. Now in the United States, can't trade any of their trading pairs. Okay, what's next? I think Coinbase is going to follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you can't trade this shit, you know, this reminds me of like when GameStop closed the trade. It's
Right.
like
Right.
You know, I think that's like, if you can't trade it, then
Right. These majority of people that are left, they make their trades on Coinbase. They don't use Uniswap.
No, you guys are so off on this. Like, this stuff is bullish for ETH. The whole point of this thing existing is that it creates this like framework for people to, in a trustless way, deploy decentralized apps to do things permissionlessly. The more the powers that be like close off the centralized control, the more it validates the use case for the entire protocol and everything built on it to exist in the first place. In a world where we trust all of the third parties and we're good and nobody has any problems with them, why the fuck do we need decentralized technology? Like, we're just making things more complicated.
No,
Nothing you said is wrong, but I just don't see how that helps your argument.
okay, no. What I see.
Look at like here's a very narrow example. Like, look at the price of like decentralized like trading protocols, like perps exchanges. When Binance goes, they don't go down, they go up because it's driving more users to this. They go like, oh, I actually do need this use case.
Sure, if they were already aware of it and in crypto and native.
So what I see is more along the lines of like, I've had these conversations with the four of us before, where I'm on the other side of the table and I'm saying like, hey, well, the fundamentals suggest this, and Steven would tell me like, your fundamentals don't mean shit in the near term, and that's how I feel my response is right now. It's like, okay, so yes, these sanctions and lawsuits or whatever should support the fundamentals of DeFi, but like in the near term, all it's going to do is just remove liquidity from the system, and removing liquidity from the system is bring prices lower.
Your argument. There was a point where we were sitting around with David like a year ago, and he was like, "The merge is coming. This is coming. This is coming." And I was like,
Yeah, the
"None of
event
this."
of the century.
I was like, "None of this fucking matters. It's just down only right now." But it doesn't. At a certain point in time, everything does nuke. Everybody does sell. The merge does happen. A year of flows do reverse. Like, at a certain point in time, fundamentals do. Like, I agree. Like, stuff's not gonna happen tomorrow, but we are on multiple years of government kind of overreach right now. We are many months past all of the leveraged players blowing up and all that structural sell demand being gone.
And prices are 40% higher than they were at that point.
Yeah, and like we're also, you also have to not underrate the internal flows. I do agree the external flows are a problem right now. Like, the money flowing into crypto is, I think, a problem. Like, there's no metric you look at where there is more money flowing into crypto right now. I totally agree. But we're sort of in a stock pickers market, which has never really existed in crypto. It's all just been nonsense forever. I don't think that's going to be the case forever. And right now, a lot of the existing liquidity in crypto, and there is a lot of existing liquidity, is flowing into Ethereum. It is flowing into projects that are useful, right? And price drives narrative. Like, eventually, as more money flows into ETH, as ETH keeps printing higher highs while everything goes down, as the burn keeps happening, there's less ETH day by day, as like staking yield keeps being like 5-6%, and price trickles up or at least remains static, eventually people are going to go, huh? And then that money will flow in, and then price will go up, and that will beget more flows. Like, we have to think about these things, I think, like ahead of when they happen to a degree. And I totally agree with you that it's completely plausible that we could nuke from here. Of course it's possible.
Can I bring up a bit of an alfalfa round that Steven brought to me within the last week, which I think bears sharing? This is amazing. Okay, so if you're like price agnostic, right? The idea here is own STETH long, short ETH on DYDX. Is that right, Steven? You can like go deeper on that.
Yeah, like there's a tremendous opportunity to just buy spot LSTs like STETH or just stake ETH. You have a built-in 5% yield. And then the basis for longing ETH on perps has been positive in the neighborhood of like 10%. So if you buy spot and you short perps, you collect 5% on the spot, and then you collect 10% being on the short side, the opposite side of that on the perp. So you effectively have a
So you have a delta neutral position yielding 15%. So this is stable coin essentially. This is a stable coin yielding 15%. It's better than T-bills. It's better than a stable coin yield. This is like the best essentially like stable coin or like T-bill yield you can get on earth. And to me, this is the right play. And like this will like obsolete anything that Steve and I have argued about today. It's like you can be like non-directional, collect 15% and chill.
Yeah, the amount of money that exists in the world that is just chasing yield is like astronomical. And right now is probably the worst it will ever be for ETH. Like I don't think short-term rates are going to go that much higher than they are right now. I think it's possible that they do.
People thought that Canada had paused. They had paused for 4 months. Canada just raised rates another quarter point today, and that's what sent the NASDAQ down today.
Well, I actually have another thing I want to talk to you about that's kind of related to that when we move off of this that I think is kind of interesting. But before we do that, like I do think there's going to be a point in time, and I think we probably all agree, where like rates go back down again. Maybe we go back down to ZERP or 1% or something.
Sure, ultimately that's then, like where it's all going eventually. It has to.
Like if we're building out all of this infrastructure to support like staked ETH and like delta neutral ETH staking and all this stuff where people can sort of gain exposure to this asset class and collect the yield, it's going to cause a ton of money to flow in to grab that yield until the price just goes up and so much staked ETH happens that like eventually that yield kind of equalizes at a point that kind of merits being at some sort of equilibrium with, T-bill, TradFi type products. There'll be some additional risk premium, of course, but there's a lot of capital that is chasing that is not in this ecosystem right now. And
so you think that would attract flows into crypto, pushing crypto prices higher is your thesis?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and I think like you're also seeing stuff like MakerDAO, who they make DAI, make DAI, but
DAI yield went up to like 3.5%.
Yeah, DAI is incorporating. This is like a big thing in crypto now. This incorporation of RWAs. That's a terrible acronym, but real world assets. We're starting to bring them on chain. Maker is doing this with treasury bills. They're basically passing the yield of treasury bills through to DAI. And that's interesting because it puts like a floor of yields in DeFi. Like if you can get 3.5% just by holding DAI, then when you go borrow stablecoins on a protocol like Aave or something, the rate you're borrowing at should be above that. Otherwise, everybody would just be buying DAI and collecting at 3.5%.
So to your point, like my thought is like that's badass for people who are already in the crypto blockchain ecosystem, but like anyone who's outside of that ecosystem can get a higher yield already outside of that. So why bring money in?
Also,
so it's not going to attract
that purchases.
It's not going to attract new money in.
I can't count people on my hand that can do that.
To bring prices higher, it takes new liquidity.
Well, if the yield of ETH is like 5% and we go back to 0%.
The yield of ETH is lower than a T-bill.
And
you have risk.
Right now, yes, it is now, but this is like a very temporary thing. It's a very temporary thing.
The amount of stakers is going higher only. So like the yield of ETH is going lower.
You also have
only.
to consider the amount of people who are there's a lot of money out there who at a certain point is going to say, I need to get exposure to this asset class. Is there sort of like an index of everything that I can buy? There is no better index than ETH. And then they're going to go, oh, it's got a built-in dividend effectively on it.
Rad.
They don't care about being delta neutral.
That's totally agree with you. But timing matters. You got to admit that timing matters.
I do admit that timing matters, but we're a year on out from like just absolute Nuketown, like $800 prices.
And we're 6 months out from NASDAQ a 40% rally.
NASDAQ is up 38%. Like
we're 6 months out from a 40% rally.
At what point are you going to be like, actually, this is a bull market? Like NASDAQ up 50%, 60%, 70%? Like when will you be like, wait a minute, is this a bull market?
That is the question for me. Like we have like two big questions, you and I. question for me is like, when do I recognize bull market? And question for you is like, are you buying some just like local recovery and it's just gonna?
Well, fortunately, I've been buying since last summer in low amount because I one of the lessons I've learned in my short but painful investing career is that never bet everything on one scenario. Like, even if you are so sure that this is the way the world is, this is what's going to happen, you do not allocate 100% of your portfolio to that. You have to allocate, maybe if there's like even a 30% chance that I'm wrong, which is really, really low. In reality, there's probably a minimum of 45% chance that I'm wrong if I'm like a god tier investor.
45%.
Like somebody like Stan Druckenmiller, right? What does he write? 55%? 60%?
Yeah.
Like the very best traders in the world are not right that much. And like there are sports bettors who are right 60%, and they make a very, very enormous living doing that,
Yeah,
albeit with a lot of
I
volatility.
think you technically need to be right like 59% of the time to even make a dollar in sports betting.
If you could be right that frequently, like more than that, then markets would just be like, people would just be making trillions of dollars, like with no problem, right? So the edges are small. So as an investor, like you have to say like, okay, I don't think this is what's going to happen, but I like this asset class. It's down 80%. I'm long-term bullish. Maybe I'm wrong. Should I buy $1? Like, if I was like, Armand, will you buy $1 of ETH at like $8.90? You'd have been like, yeah, I'll buy $1. And I'll be like, okay, would you buy $100, $1,000, 5,000? And there'd probably be a point where you're like, all right, yeah, well, yeah, I'll buy $5,000. Right?
But
you
like,
should buy that because you might be wrong about the thesis.
it's gonna like, we're like driving in circles because like what we're talking about is like so many different time frames. Because here's what the truth is between like me and Steven is that like he has a short time frame than me, I have a longer one, but I also play in short time frame scenarios for trades, right? So like I sold my biggest bag of ETH at like 3,200 and now it's at 1,800. Am I mad about that? No. Am I like mad that I didn't buy at 900 then it went to 800? Of course I'm like, wish I would have bought that, but like I sold it at 32. Like, am I mad? I'm fine, you know? But then like within that, you know, I have like short-term trades, options trades that I'm like straddling, and like I'm like trying to play it, you know, within that. And those are completely different goals and agendas. You know, for me at 1,800 ETH, like, am I like really trying to like buy this level? I'm not. I don't care. You know, like and
Well,
for,
why don't you care?
Well, because I think it's going to go lower, and like
Why?
For all the reasons I suggested, liquidity. The fact that it's rallied 40% in the last 6 months, the fact that we have all the trading volume leaving Binance and Coinbase, like these are obvious to me.
Okay, why do you think that the NASDAQ is up like, it's probably up like 20% since liquidity started ticking down, and everybody and their mother right now is
hold
saying
the
like,
phone.
oh, the TGA is going to get filled, and
Yeah, I don't think liquidity has ticked down at all.
it has a lot. Like
No.
global liquidity has ticked down
not at all.
considerably.
No,
Of course it
I
has.
mean,
course it
we're
has.
talking about that unencumbered version, but then they just injected 400 billion into it. They injected 400 billion into it at the time.
I'm giving you non-adjusted.
No.
No, they're going.
Okay,
to,
so the balance sheet's going to go lower. I think the TGA is going to go higher.
Okay, so here's an important distinction, right? Like, and this is going to be like kind of wonky. So I guess we'll just go over it very quickly. Everybody is saying right now, okay, we got through the debt ceiling disaster. What that means is that Janet Yellen is going to issue a bunch of debt. And because she's going to issue a bunch of debt, a bunch of money is going to come out of the system. They're going to buy these bonds, and that's going to effectively like drain money out that might have otherwise YOLO'd into stuff. But there's like a weird nuance here, right? Because like before there was a discount to the reverse repo facility, the Fed's overnight facility, where banks just park cash and get free money and treasury bills, right? So there was no reason to buy treasury bills. Like it yielded literally lower than the RRP. Now there's like a premium to that. If money comes out of the RRP and buys the T-bills, that's actually
A liquidity
neutral
injection.
or like slightly positive. So that this is like a weird corner case that can happen that would make this sort of prediction everybody's making.
And the RRP
wrong.
is fucking huge. I agree. Like I get that as like a possible case, but like my base case is like looking at what the Bank of Canada did today, which had previously paused their rate raises, and then they said, "Look, economy's running too hot. We're gonna keep raising." That happened today. Like, do you think Canada is like a one-off?
I'm glad you mentioned that because I want to throw a idea out there that I've been thinking about lately. Okay, that kind of throws a wrench in all of this if it's true. Like, we've all been walking around with this very basic thought in our head that when the Fed raises rates, it cools off the economy. It slows like economic activity and brings down inflation. What if that's not true? What if the opposite is actually true?
With a hot take.
Right? So here's how this works, right? We've heard about like government deficit spending and how government deficit spending boosts GDP, right? And there's not really any argument that government deficit spending doesn't boost GDP. The argument comes from kind of the Austrian side that like, well, is this actually productive? Is this
Right.
some vanity metric? Does this actually create lasting value?
Yeah, I think the Austrian side looks at the ROI of it, not that the absolute value, because of course it boosts GDP.
Yeah. So this is what like we did during the New Deal, right? The
Yeah.
government just started shoveling out cash, people's pockets, paying them to dig holes and fill them back up again. So in a world where the government has $1 trillion budget and the interest expense in the bottom line is, say, like $10 billion. If you triple the interest expense and make it 30 billion out of $1 trillion, it doesn't really matter. The budget doesn't increase that much. In a world where the deficit is $1 trillion and the interest expense is $100 billion, and then you increase it by 7 times, and now the interest expense is $700 billion.
That's massive.
What you've just done now is massively increased government expenditure, deficit spending. And when the government is paying interest in bonds and T-bills, sure, China holds some of those, like we talk about that a lot. The largest holders of bonds are United States citizens.
So you're saying it's almost like a stimulus where we get some leakage out to the other international holders, but it is like a stimulus to the primary holders, which are U.S. citizens.
Yeah, so there's actually multiple points to this. So point number one, when you jack the interest rate from 0% to 5.5%, you are now forcing the government to dramatically increase the deficit because the ratio of debt to GDP is really high, which means the ratio of interest expense is like actually pretty high. And all that money is just going into the bank accounts of probably people like you and me. Like, do you have bonds? Like, I have bonds. Like,
Sure do.
we all
pal.
hold bonds, and we're like, oh, sweet. I went from making $0 a month on my cash to like thousands of dollars a month on
And
my
like
cash.
more importantly, it goes to the old people who are the voters. Like that's like what they actually care about.
So that's point number one. Like, we're basically injecting a bunch of stimulus to rich people who hold assets. Point number two is that when you increase interest rates, you do limit like credit expansion and borrowing in the economy. If you're a business, Armand, and you need to fund a bunch of new goods because you have demand, and the interest rates go up from 0 to 7%, now you're like, that's kind of a lot. I'm not going to fund all that. And what do? You produce fewer goods, so you constrain the supply of goods, which makes the price of the goods go up. But because you've started injecting all of this money into the economy, the population is actually able to sustain and support that higher price of goods. So inflation goes up and then it's sustainable. And then what does the Fed do? They go, well, inflation's pretty high. We got to raise rates again. So they give the rich people more money. They further constrain the supply of goods and prices go up. And then like I feel like you actually get into this scenario where you actually like overheat the economy accidentally. You think you're fighting inflation, but you're actually driving inflation higher and just juicing more money into the economy. And I wonder if like this whole thing, we've gotten it completely wrong If anybody wants to listen, like Jack Farley does Forward Guidance. It's a good podcast with I think it's Warren Mosley. He's an MMT guy, which I know a lot of people hate, and I
That's
think
a super hot take.
worthy of some criticism.
I got a piece so
I think it's a
bad.
perspective
Oh,
worth
I
considering.
needed to talk to you about something.
No, I have to go so bad.
Oh, I needed to talk to you. I can't. Steven's not going to care.
All right,
about this.
Armand. Well, do you have any takes on whether interest rate hikes are stimulative? I'm just kidding. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I do. I do have takes on all of it, but I've got some requests.
Let's go to the chat.
I've got some requests. I didn't want you to see it, actually.
Oh no.
Yeah, I had a task that I was tasked with.
I
was about to put this. What do you call these things?
That's an Allen wrench.
Allen wrench in your pocket. I was about to walk over to you and put this in your pocket, but then you looked at the chat and it just.
Can I
now
just
it's
tell
not
you
gonna
how
be funny.
happy it makes me feel to sit there and deliver what I think is like very interesting new alpha, completely new way of looking at the world, your investments.
It was okay.
And then I look to the chat and everybody's just talking about my pocket and nobody
Well,
cares. And I go,
you can thank me for that.
why do I bother? Maybe what I
This
have
is
to
like
say
the
is just
tiniest
not that
Allen
interesting.
wrench I've ever held, though. This is like an Allen wrench for. What do they say in what's that Will Ferrell movie? Zoolander. This is like a school for ants.
School for ants.
This is like an Allen wrench for ants, dude.
I mean
This
that
is like the
that
tiniest
Allen wrench
Allen
is the
wrench
size of
I've
9,000
ever
ants. I think.
used. Was this for this table? This table was a bust. I need a better table.
No, don't tell
I
them that. That table is made of solid gold.
I like
audience.
it, but I want real. So what I do want to transition to,
Sorry, Alan Bryce said Allen wrench. Did somebody
Lick-
ring?
Allen wrench. Did somebody ring? Oh my God!
You guys are fucking
I think it was
funny.
called Forward Guidance, Max.
Yeah, forward
Um,
guidance.
Yeah. So, I almost put this in my mouth. So I want to talk about the Saudis taking over,
Oh yeah, Saudis. They're bidding.
and we need to
But
move
not for
because I also need
Bitcoin.
to talk about aliens.
Oh
Like,
my
we gotta
God, I
deliver.
forgot we're supposed to talk about
Yeah,
aliens.
we've got a lot of shit to talk
Oh,
about. You
Jesus.
guys went macro for an hour.
I'm sorry. I was trying to
Okay.
get people to not
So the Saudis
sell all their shit.
So let me give some context here. So I'll start with the golf and then talk about the soccer. So first of all, I don't know if I'm the best person to explain this. You might actually know a little more about the deal. But Live Golf. Do you know about Live Golf?
Yeah, the Saudi look to very high level. The Saudis came in. They basically created their own PGA tour, and then they offer a bunch of PGA golfers
Phil Mickelson and-
gigantic check.
Like,
I think
unheard of.
They're like, Phil, here's $100 million in this sick private jet to fly everywhere.
Right.
Come play. And Phil, obviously, like if you know Phil, he was like, absolutely, goodbye, and just like left. But then some people were like, I don't know.
This is ruining the
feels
sport.
wrong. Of it.
This
and they
is
didn't do it.
different.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to explore here in terms of just like, what is it the Saudis are up to? On the one hand, that's one of my questions. Like, is this nation building? Why are they specifically investing in sport? That's one side of it. The other side of it is it wrong? Is it okay? Does it ruin the sanctity of these sports? Football, I'm talking about soccer, and I will be talking about soccer, but I'll be calling it football. You know, football and golf specifically are getting injected with billions of dollars. I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars. So now that Eric's back in the room, this is what I want to say. Lionel Andres Messi, the GOAT of all goats, La Pulga, turned down at the last minute. The Saudis offered him a total contract value with all in
1.9 billion.
no, 1.9. $1 billion all in. A
Yeah.
$400 million per year salary.
saw
They
that.
upped it. No, excuse me. They upped
I thought it was
from
1.9.
No, they offered him
No.
a $500 million a year.
$500 million a
I thought
year
all
in
in
salary.
everything.
I mean,
total.
God knows what all in could mean if they
Yeah,
stacked
yeah.
It was
it
a
all in.
it was a shit fuck ton of money.
It's the most
Yeah.
money that any athlete has ever been offered
Yeah.
times like 10.
I think it's
Maybe times 5 would be fair.
I think his agent.
And he turned it down, is
Yeah.
what I want to say. He
Ooh.
turned it down this morning.
Yeah, saw that.
And decided to go to the last place team in the MLS, owned by David Beckham,
So,
Inter Miami.
I know you
That's
have.
where he's going.
So I know you have takes on this. My immediate thought was like looking back at the PGA right?
Yeah.
So those guys, John Rahm and Rory
exactly
McIlroy
that.
or whatever, those guys turned down the live golf offer,
Right.
and they turned down 400 whatever it was, billion, whatever it was, $1 million.
Some of them turned down like many 8 figures. Yeah,
Eight
a lot,
figures.
like a lot of money.
Okay,
a lot
and
of money.
and for their loyalty to the PGA, you know what they got? Nothing. Because right now the PGA is merging with Live Golf, and it's just going to be one league all over
They got
again.
nothing, so they would have had a couple years of like
Of
just being
great earnings.
Yeah.
And now they're back to exactly where they
That's
were.
not what's going to happen with
so
soccer.
my thought with Messi was like, okay, you have this great offer.
No, soccer doesn't work that way.
No, hold on. You turn down this great offer to go play an MLS Miami, and then you will like ultimately own MLS Miami. But it's like with $1 billion or $500 million, whatever he's offered, the guy could like own outright MLS Miami. The guy could like own.
He could already do that.
So
It's
the-
not about the money.
So my point is, don't turn down the money. I think he's making a huge blunder.
You're only right if it was about the money.
But he's making a huge blunder because at the end of the day, money does matter. It's like what his end result.
Money matters if your goal requires that amount of money.
But his end result might mean I want to own Inter Miami. I want to like.
Who said he wants to do that?
I don't know what he wants to do, but do you think that it would help him to have an extra billion? Probably.
Only if the goal that he had in mind for his life required that capital.
Whatever goal he has in his life, it
You
would
think
be.
Messi couldn't call up somebody and be like, just fund this? Or put up like most of it himself?
Well, he would put all of it himself if he had an extra billion.
So what? But that's not his goal. He's not that guy.
I think he's just making a huge blunder, the same way that John Rahm and Rory McIlroy made a blunder.
No, you're calling. No. Let's get into this. The blunder that those guys made, that John Ram made, for example, is completely different because that's like saying that MLS merged with Serie A in Spain or with the French league or the German league. That's never going to happen. That doesn't happen in soccer. These different countries and these different leagues, they're all prestigious in their own right. Now, they're all different levels.
The
of
MLS
like,
is prestigious?
no, I mean, not in the grand scheme of like, it's getting more prestigious over time. Like it's getting like, this is going to be huge for the MLS. San Diego's getting a team. Sacramento's getting a team. Like the MLS is continuing to build. This is a 20-year project that is just continuing to build. Dude, the MLS is going against 200 years of history in Italy, in Germany, in Spain, in England.
And of
Like,
course-
it's not going to happen
and of
overnight
course,
for
so is
America
Saudi
to just show
Arabia.
up.
So is Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
Wait, hold up.
And my point is,
Can we
that-
zoom out to the point here that there's a point you're
Okay.
like he's
So let me-
giving up $1 billion and that's useful.
let me get to my like overarching point of all this is that like
You're arguing that the money is worth everything.
I sort of am, and let me get to my point.
That it
is
would
that
give
like
you the leverage and
my point is not about Messi or individual players. My point is that like as spectators, we actually don't care where players play. We
of
wanna-
course we do.
No, stop.
Of
Wait,
course
what? No,
we do.
stop.
You're speaking as a non-fan.
No.
here.
What
No.
we care about.
No.
Stop. What we care
I would
about.
have cried today if Messi signed for Al Ilah.
Just let me go. Let me go for a little bit.
Fine.
What we care about as spectators is that the best players play against each other. And it doesn't matter if it's in England or in Saudi or whatever. And we allow those players to play in a capitalistic market where they all go to where the money is. There's
What's
no
the
reason
purpose
why,
of
there's no
fans?
reason why the NBA should be the best league on earth. If that was like the Serbian league where all the best players go, we would watch that because that's all the best players playing against each other.
What about the people showing up to the games?
Nobody shows up to MLS.
No, the people that show up to the NBA games that
We-
you're referring to.
We show up because that's the spectacle that we go to watch. If the spectacle was in England, then that would be like the
Wait,
spectacle
are you
to
arguing
watch.
that all the best players are in like the Saudi league?
No, my
You're saying we don't care. You're saying
no,
fans don't
my
care. That was what you said.
what I'm saying is that the fans will watch the best players compete.
As long as
That's
they're playing against each other.
That's the point.
Okay. I disagree.
You
Like-
don't want to watch the best players compete against each other.
I think that everything you're saying is incredibly focused on a couple things. Number one, what's best for the players making the maximum amount of money to have the maximum amount of leverage to do what they need to do with their lives to buy the team they want or make the move they want, the business move they want. Secondly, your point was about the fans. The fans are agnostic as long as these great athletes play against each other. I disagree with both of those things. First of all, number one on the player. The player is playing for a club out of pride. These teams stand for a lot. They have history. Barcelona, the club that Messi belonged to for like 18, 19 years, the saying is literally "Més que un club," more than a club. Like, there's deep history here. There's meaning. There's like ritual, tradition. These things matter. Then on the fan side, so like who they play for, their legacy, how it is shaped, their Wikipedia, their tombstone, like all of that really matters to these players. So many players choose legacy.
You're
and the
only looking at the
story.
player. You're not. You
No,
just said
I'm
the
on
player
the player
twice
right now.
instead of, you didn't look at
I'm
the
on
fan.
player. No, I'm still on the player. The player is going to choose oftentimes either to go for the money. Some of them do based on their personality disposition, or they're going to go the route of like Messi literally said today in his speech, if it was about the money, I would have gone to Saudi Arabia. It's not about the money for me. It's just not about the money for me.
I don't care. That you're missing my point. My point is all we want as a spectator is to watch the best players compete.
Well, your first point was that the athlete
No,
is
you
wrong.
stuck on that point. I thought that Messi was wrong for not taking the money.
Right.
But my real point
Can
was that
I interject here?
spectators want to watch.
Let me hit the
Can
fans
I-
thing, and then yeah, the fans do care about the team. We do care about our teams. We do care about our leagues. We do care about what country or team people play for. Because how can I support?
You support Barcelona. You live in San Diego.
But I've supported Barcelona since I was 8 years old.
Because you've never lived in Barcelona. Why
I've been to
why would you
Barcelona
love
7
Barcelona?
times because my dad was a huge fan.
I'm from
and bought me
Barcelona.
a jersey. Well, that's just such a ridiculous thing to say. That's such a stupid thing to say. Why does
No,
someone
it's
who live
what
in New
you
York,
said is
why
exactly
does
what I'm
someone who live in New
countering.
York- That's like saying like, you know, I live in New York, but my dad, who's from Kansas, told me we should support Kansas, and I've been a Kansas fan since I was 5 years old. I'm not allowed to support Kansas.
You
I
can
used to-
support Kansas if you want.
This is insane. You, as a huge sports fan, should not be saying these things.
All I'm
you
saying
are
is
a
that
huge sports fan.
I'm a huge sports fan. I want to watch the best competitors compete.
And you don't care if the greatest player of all time plays for a team you've never heard of?
As long as
You've
all
never
the
heard
competitors are there.
Oh my God.
Okay, Eric.
Where Messi's going
Eric.
is the MLS.
Stop for 1 second, for the love of God.
I mean, that was fun.
If what Eric is saying is true, that all fans care about is watching the best players compete against each other, then the whole concept of rooting for teams would not fucking exist. Like,
Doesn't
people
exist.
care about teams.
Wrong.
They care about the etymology of that team. They care
No,
about the history of that
that's a
team.
false premise.
Like, the
Wrong.
idea... Like
what?
your premise
There are
isn't validated by the
people-
fact they're a team. Like, the
Tattoos
Cubs
for
didn't
their
win a
teams.
World Series
They
for like
die for their
100 fucking
teams.
years.
Do you
and
realize
everybody
that, like,
still roots for the Cubs?
No, you're wrong. Like, do you realize
you
that,
don't
like,
think people are sad that Messi's going to Miami instead of going to Barcelona?
do you realize that,
or-
like, I watch the English Premier League and I don't live in England? Okay? Like, it has nothing to do with, like, where you live or where your guy plays for. It's like,
Of course it
you
does.
can, like, associate.
You've never seen teams that like they have this player that they're the best player for like 10 years, and then they leave the club, and then the fans are like, "Fuck you," and then they just disown
Yeah.
them.
Okay, what you're describing is fandom, which I agree with. People will latch on as a fanatic. That's like what fan is short for. You become a fanatic
Okay.
for a club.
I
but
don't
like
think
all
this
of
could
this
be-
it's based on the
let me
fact
explain
that you
something
want
to
to
you.
watch the best players. Like, are you a fan
Listen,
of
bro,
like?
this might be true in baseball. It might
No,
be true in
fuck
American
you.
football. No, fuck you. It might
Are
be
you a
true
fan of
in
like
basketball.
Nomads fucking
Listen to
San
me.
Diego soccer?
Listen
Like,
to me. In soccer, there is nothing more important than the clubs. I don't care if this is not true in baseball and American football and basketball and every other sport. These people die for their clubs.
okay, well,
Why-
Messi's
you-
going to MLS.
Fine.
And that's
Fine.
fine for you. So that just spits in the face of everything
Wait,
you're
what do you
saying.
mean it's fine for me?
That spits in the face of everything you're
No, we haven't
saying.
even talked about that yet.
That's
We haven't
exactly
talked
what you're
about
saying.
that.
No, we only just care about the clubs, Barca, Mescayan Club, and he's going to Miami.
Nobody's happy about that. We haven't talked about that part yet.
People in the U.S.
That's what
are
I'm
happy
s-
about that.
Sure, but like,
What are you talking about?
no, we're
You're
talking
just
about
like tripping
many-
over yourself.
No, I'm not tripping over myself at all.
This is the point.
No, that's not the point.
Okay.
That's not the point.
Can we also agree that there's a difference between just going to some random team in Saudi Arabia, collecting a paycheck and leaving, versus like going into this infinite money, then that would be attractive to them.
But
right?
how can you apply that to Miami and not apply that to Saudi Arabia? It's the exact same
No,
scenario.
Saudi
Saudi
Arabia
Arabia
is
is like the 27th best league in the world.
Where's
like
MLS?
maybe even
24th?
top-
If
maybe-
you take
no,
if you take
no,
an
like
entity that just has
10.
infinity money and they're just exchanging money to get players, there's no soul there.
But
There's
that
like nothing you're
becomes
playing
my
for.
point
also
is
coming
that
to my
becomes the
country.
pro league. The pro
No, it
league
doesn't.
becomes the
Pro
one
League
that
is
pays the
more
players.
than just good players. There has to be like a history, a culture. Like there's all this other stuff there that makes it good.
No, what
and
makes
great.
it good is you get the best players.
No.
Oh my God.
No,
We're
it's more than that.
Lost right now. There's too many points at once. I can't even handle them.
Like I'm with you. I would prefer that Messi went to Barca. I would prefer that all the best players stayed in the top 5 leagues as they are. This is like what I prefer as a spectator. But
Okay.
like when I go back to the first principles of being a spectator, what I actually want to watch is competition, and I want to watch the highest levels of it.
Okay.
And if like the best money, like if like Saudi money is the highest pay for athletes and it attracts all the best ones, and that becomes then the best league, I'm like, cool. I don't actually give a fuck about the Premier League in England. I just want to watch the best players.
Wait, I have a good. Riddle me this: if what people really want to watch is just the best players, why does nobody fucking care about All-Star games?
Because it's not competitive. It's
Why
not
is it not
competitive.
If I
competitive?
really try
Why?
to understand
It's not
what
competitive. There's
Eric
no
is saying,
outcome.
There's no outcome because it's
You're
more than just
basically-
the best players getting together and just playing a fucking game because they're the best players. Like,
No, they're
there's more-
intentionally
there's
not
nothing there.
trying to not get injured for their actual league.
Yeah, they're all just
it's not-
existing together. They're all just
a bad analogy,
there.
It's not
the
They
right
don't-
analogy.
There's no history there.
It's a bad analogy.
No,
It's
it's a
not
great
the right-
analogy because the fucking All-Star team.
No, they don't-
For this year,
they
there's
don't
no
try.
history to the team. It's just like here's a bunch of good players. There's no history. They didn't win a
No, those
championship 5 years
players-
ago. Your grandpa didn't root for them. It's just
Those
these
players
random
don't
players
care
who
about
assembled
winning.
yesterday.
Those players don't care about
the
winning, Steven.
history of the team matters.
It's his
It
first time watching
matters.
I
sports.
agree with your other points, Stephen, but the analogy doesn't work.
Those
in
players
this
don't care
argument.
about
Oh my
winning that
God.
game.
Yeah,
they
the
actually
All-Star
try not to
game
get
is- The
injured.
reason
That's
they
their
care- don't
that's their
care-
incentive.
Look, if I try to understand, you're saying that it's agnostic. The players are playing wherever they're
Hold on,
playing.
hold on.
We want to watch them.
I want to help you. Let's get back to the first principle.
'Kay.
What made the English Premier League the English Premier League, like the top league in the world, or Spanish La Liga, or the top 5? You know, it's like France, England, Spain, Italy,
This is
Germany.
what I care about.
Okay.
This is what I want to
So
get
what
into.
made those leagues the best? It's because it attracted the best players. How do they attract the best players? Because they paid them. Okay. That's why. So now those leagues are the best because they pay their players the best. They attract
Wait
the
a
best
second.
players.
Where does the money come
So
from?
what I'm saying is, if there's a league that will attract the best players and become part of this top 5, then who's to say that we are like not allowed to watch that league as well?
No one said that.
That's what
nobody
you're
said that.
saying.
No.
No.
I just said, number one, player going to a place only for money doesn't feel right. Some players will do it, some players won't. That was the first part. The second part was the fans. Should the fans just like automatically follow a player and watch a league because the players are there? No. Fans care about the team that the player plays for. Those are my 2 points. That's literally it. That's where we disagree.
Okay.
I understand what you're like.
Yeah. Those
generally
are
trying
like
to target.
those are like
But I'm just
mutually
saying there are
exclusive
plenty-
points.
yeah.
But like
That's why I felt like this was fun. We were definitely talking past each other.
But like I
Look,
have
what
no
it comes down
reason to I have no personal incentive to be like an English Premier League fan
No.
or an Italian Serie A fan or whatever. I root for watching the best players compete. And if the best players do compete in Saudi League, so be it, then I'd be a fucking fan of that.
I think what it comes down to in a lot of ways is like the nature of wanting to protect history, like conservative versus progressive, right? You have history, you have the country that basically created this sport. You have a lot of things that create a source of pride for the last 100, 150 years, 200 years, even some of these clubs. And it's prestigious. It's honorable to go and play for some of these clubs. Now, the MLS is new, but the MLS still has much more respect than the Saudi League. The Saudi League is nothing but oil money being bribed to players, just like in the Live Golf thing, to get them to come over.
And the MLS
Now, here's
is
what
the
I
exact
think is
same,
interesting.
except for you just offer American
The
money.
MLS is the same. The MLS is the same.
That's exactly
so
what
then
my
the
point
deeper
is.
thing is, when does it become okay? When does it become?
For me,
I agree.
it's
Day one.
It's okay right now because it's the same.
I get it. Okay, I get it. I understand what you're driving at, but I think that for most people, they care, and it's difficult to just let go of like, no, but I want to see my favorite player in these shirts.
Yes, and I don't want to misconstrue that I don't see that. I want to see Messi in a Barca shirt, and I want to see that legacy continue. But here's where he's at. He's choosing between Saudi and MLS, and my point
Right.
is they're the same.
Fine, but he chose the one that gave him a lot less money.
And I think
Why?
that's a blunder.
Why? Why do you think he did it?
I think he wants to own a piece of American franchise, which they also offered him. And I think that if he took the Saudi money, then he could have just taken that in dollars and bought an American franchise.
I can't believe that convo went. Like the whole origin, of sport from like the
It's
original
tradition.
days was like a battle of tribes. Like people weren't watching it because they wanted to see the best gladiator. Like or people, they were like it was their
It's
tribe. They were
representative.
watching their tribe, their people compete, and they weren't just gonna go to another tribe because the other tribe had better athletes. It was much more than
hold on.
performance based
Like,
in nature, and
you're
that's wired into
so
our
lost
DNA.
on this. You're so lost on
No,
this.
I'm not. That is the
Did
root
you realize
of
that
sport.
we're going to have a San Diego soccer team in like a year? We're going to have one. Are you going to be like a big fan because we live here? You probably won't be. I won't be.
No, that's how it works.
That's how it works. But like
become a
100
fan.
years from now, like people might. Really,
I won't be because
Why not?
I watch English Premier League. I watch the best compete.
No, but that's like saying, like, if I live in Middlesbrough, England, I'm not going to be a fan of that team because it's here. And it just like, what do you mean? Why wouldn't you be a team? Why wouldn't you be a fan of that team?
Why wouldn't you be a fan of the ABA basketball San Diego fucking Jackrabbits? Because who gives a fuck?
Yeah, who gives a fuck now? But if
That's
like
how it works, Eric.
if the team's
That's literally
okay,
how it
and then
works.
you have kids
You're
and they
missing
go
the
to the
point that
games
that's
and they
not
get
how it
better.
works.
No,
If
that's
you're
literally how it works.
If your great
In
great
every
grandchildren
city-
are watching and like there's a history that's
Hold on.
established and the
This,
team
I
is
just have to make sure
I
we
can't believe
understand
this.
you here. You're telling me
You're so lost.
in cities around the world, when there's a local team, people don't or shouldn't support that team?
What I'm saying is, if that team is a low tier non-factor, then it doesn't. That obviously doesn't come into play.
Of course it does. So there are so many small towns in England, right, where there's like a third division team.
Okay, hold on.
But people are
let me ask you
huge
fucks.
fans.
Hold on, let me ask you fucks.
I love the fucks are coming out
Yeah,
now.
how many of you guys have been to San Diego Soccer's games?
I have.
Yeah, Steven?
Oh, Soccer's. No, I thought you meant San Diego
Yeah, thank
State.
you. That's our local soccer team. How many games you been to, you
they're not
fucking
even pro.
assholes?
I don't watch
not
premier
pro.
soccer games. Why would I go to a soccer's game? What's your point?
My point is that you don't just root for the local one. You root for something that matters.
But I don't root for any of them. So why would I root for the soccer's?
I'm so lost. This is null. This is done.
Well, now that we've lost,
You
the,
guys are
done.
lost.
now that we've lost the
This is
entire
done.
audience.
No, you're all lost. I've been
You guys
lost.
are morons.
Eric, when Eric starts bringing it, it's the hammer time. It's Judgment Day.
I feel
All right,
like
but I do want to get one.
Steven
if
wants to
I
root for
can.
all-star teams, first of all.
no, I don't want to root for all-star teams. This is
Fucking
literally the
moron.
opposite of what I said.
I do want to get one take from you guys
I'm just
here.
being gaslit.
What
That's what's happening.
do you think about Live Golf joining with the PGA?
I
Okay,
think
so I liked when Liv started competing with the PGA because I don't like these like monopolies. The PGA is like, oh, we're the PGA. We've been around for 200 years and Ben Hogan and shit. And like, we can just do whatever we want. And there's no competition. Like, I don't really like that all the American sports leagues have these like enshrined monopolies. Because
Yeah.
anytime you have a monopoly, it just lets the sort of enshrined, benighted party
That
just
is
suck.
my point, you moron.
I think
Literally
that you're
not. Your point
you're
was like
not
a why people watch sport. That's
making
nothing
it
to do with
well.
monopoly.
I-
When there's
If your point is that Saudi
my
Arabian
point
League
is that there
like
is
Live
an
Golf,
entity that will pay athletes more to go be professional over here, and you're like, I don't care. They're the best. That's exactly my point.
No, the difference
Oh my
between
God.
two leagues optimizing their thing is very different from like.
Steven's alluding
the
to
inv-
like the monopolistic nature.
Why am I not alluding to that? That's exactly what I'm talking
That is
about.
not the way you're being heard.
You're
right now.
redefining what fandom is. I'm
No,
talking about the sport
I'm talking
as a
about the exact
business,
same thing. It's a
at the
capitalistic
ownership
market
level.
where you can pay players to come to a league.
But
Okay,
people
I
don't
take it
like
back. I actually
sports
don't wanna
because
ask you guys
capitalism.
Okay,
I
so
don't want to ask you guys about Live Golf.
I will just say that
I want you to close this and talk about aliens.
I think
and,
it's-
and send it home.
I think
Fuck,
it's a-
I forgot we have to talk about aliens.
I think
still.
it's a shame that the players in the PGA that like showed their loyalty to PGA by not accepting the Live Golf money are left holding the bag. Like they get nothing. You know, these two leagues now merge.
I agree.
And like John Rahm, Rory, etc., they said, "No, I won't take this
They
Saudi
could have
money."
They could have got the jet.
They could have got the bag, and I'm saying Messi should take the bag.
Okay. Fair enough. You are the one with the opinion on this today. That
No
was
doubt.
a hell of a
I got a
hot
couple
take.
morons.
I think I've never that was very difficult to try to really get to the root of, but I think I kind of
All right. Speaking of crazy
So-
ideas that nobody believes in or can prove,
So we've got a guy who's very connected telling us that we have alien aircraft that we've been hiding from the world.
we have alien bodies.
He's saying we have bodies.
Yeah, good
He hasn't
bodies.
seen any of it. He hasn't seen any of it. What do you think about that?
He said they're there. Well, like, okay, so to be fair, it's more than some guy, right?
Right.
It's like a whistleblower basically agreeing to perjure himself before the government, take an oath, go to jail. So he's actually got some skin in the game. So it's not just a kind of fly-by-night thing. But yeah, he's like, yeah, there's aliens, there's ships, we've got them. A lot of countries have gotten them. There's bodies. What's more interesting to me is that nobody seems to care, honestly.
Like nobody, like citizens?
Yeah, like if you told me this in 1994,
Because we
or
don't
something,
know what the
I would
fuck
have
is
been like,
going
"This
on,
is the
dude."
biggest thing." Is it that? Or,
We don't know. Like, we don't trust anything, and it's never clear, and there's never evidence, there's never pictures. It's never some big leak where
I
it's
don't
like,
think that's true.
Look
People-
at the alien face.
no,
you know?
that's not true because people jump all over the dumbest conspiracy theories all the time. Like if I pull up Twitter, there's some left wing and right wing conspiracy where if I go into it, everybody's like, "Oh my god," blah blah blah. Like if I go on like far right Twitter right now, there's a gigantic conspiracy that the COVID vax is basically a time bomb that injects you with cancer that can be activated and kill you at any time, right? That's way less that's way more crazy than aliens. Everybody, like, if there's a lot of people believing in it, there's a lot of chatter. None of those people are talking about aliens. Why is nobody talking about the aliens? Like, I feel like this should be like an enormous, huge thing, and nobody seems to care. And this happened before too. Like we had people like with the crafts, like the government came out and were like, yeah, there's UFOs.
Can you guys
And
tell
nobody
me
cared.
what was sort of like purported in this report? Because like what happens so often, and this is where I stand, it's like you get so many guys who say that here's what happened. It's like the boy who cried wolf phenomenon, where I'm like tired of even hearing about,
This one you're actually right on.
like I'm hearing about UFOs and shit, and it's like, okay, like I'm tired of hearing about these like boys who cried wolf.
That's what it is.
So like what happened?
That's why there's no reaction, Steven.
So what
No one
happened?
knows.
What happened?
Well, I mean, this guy came out and said that he has been told by people high up that worked alongside him, and he was a vet, what, like 18 years, or am I making that up? It was like 18, that people confided in him. We have recovered aircraft that is non-human. We don't know what it is. And there was talk of like actual bodies, crashes. He talked about the fact that there's like a race, not an arms race, but like an alien recovery race to recover spacecraft that has crashed between countries. Everyone is competing to acquire these parts as fast as possible to
That would be
reverse
pretty
engineer
sick
and
if it was
uncover
true.
like what's happening. I find that to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It'd be fascinating if it was true.
How could that be true?
Well, it would just be rad.
How could that be true?
Imagine the tech we
honestly?
would acquire.
You guys have
from
heard
these
me say this
crashes.
before, but it's like if there was a civilization out there that could get here only to crash, what a fucking failure of a civilization. Not once, not twice, multiple
They
times.
just keep fucking up.
Countries, they're all just like arriving to our atmosphere, and there's something about our ozone that just causes them to crash.
Oh, God.
And then
We botched
Russia
it.
and China and America are all competing to
Yeah.
find and source these aircraft parts from alien civilizations. You got to be fucking kidding me.
That really
This
is
a
that really
complete
is the ultimate
distraction.
fail.
It's a joke.
To
They
be able
make
to
it a-
harness like to travel faster than the speed of
Inter-
light.
Yeah,
Stellar
you make it
technology.
across the Andromeda galaxy
then
to
you-
us
yeah.
just to get
you-
to our
So
ozone.
either
and we
crash.
fail.
you didn't break the speed of light and you took like 1,000,000 years to get here, or you broke the speed of light. You did not. You defied the laws of physics. You found a wormhole. You got through it from another galaxy, only to crash.
You guys always laugh at my shitty ozone takes when I'm high. Like, imagine if our stupid ozone was like the actual defense system against aliens that are coming in.
Wait, you've had multiple ozone takes?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
like this. I like
yeah,
this.
yeah. So when I get high, I often talk to you guys about how permeable our defense system is.
Yeah, this is a great take.
This like ozone.
This is a mushroom take.
This mushroom ozone take where I'm like, wait, hold on. So our whole defense system is you just go right through it. But if you go too fast, then it's a problem. Like you
Yeah.
can just go right through it.
Yeah.
And I think this ozone is fucking bullshit. Like this is the worst defense system ever. But if this thing is
Is causing-
the thing that's like actually stopping
Yo,
the aliens,
What if our ozone is causing
it's
these
just
crashes?
like the best defense ever.
They just show up. They're like, we've never seen this.
Oh my God,
Oh
ozone.
my God. We've studied everything in the universe, but we weren't prepared
we
for
weren't
this.
prepared for this thing that you can go right. I can stick my hand right through it. It's
Yeah,
a fucking piece
we
of
weren't
shit.
prepared for this.
We're gonna get so many physics actually
Fine.
comments.
Actually,
for
me
this.
all day long.
I literally
Actually-
walk right
Look,
through
the
the
whole
ozone.
thing is
Actually,
just
the
so
ozone
funny.
isn't what causes the craft to catch fire.
Okay, it was a prairie in
Yeah.
Nebraska that caused it. Yeah. Okay. New Mexico.
You get my point. Atmosphere.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
Earth's
just
atmosphere.
happened to land in New Mexico.
I can literally walk through the atmosphere, but like that'll stop everything. Come on.
Now there is a trend, again, if any of this evidence is real or true, that after the first like atomic bomb testing and explosions, the alien sort of observation rate, crash rate, arrival rate increased. Like, I guess what I really want to drive
is that
at
really
here is
true though, or do
well-
we just like kind of accept that as like a?
I'm regurgitating something I've read, but I have not done a deep dive on. So, I'm not an alien guy. Couldn't tell you.
That is a popular thing I hear people say. Like, oh, these
Yeah.
fuckers started nuking and they all showed up. Like, hey, what's going on here?
So, look, I mean, why do you think we're not paying attention to it, Stephen? And do you think it's real?
I think as a society we have banner blindness.
Is that the same as Boy Who Cried Wolf?
what does banner blindness
of.
mean?
Banner blindness is like a term you have in marketing where if you see an
So it
ad
is-
or
it
some
is the
sort of
same.
banner ad multiple times, your brain just ignores it. It may as well not even exist. So aliens is like this sort of thing that's been around forever.
Well,
Aliens,
particularly if
aliens,
that
aliens,
banner
aliens.
has like not led to a result,
Real fruitful
you know, for
outcomes,
like
yeah.
70 years.
Yeah.
Right. Well, like when you were 12, people weren't like, there's a vaccine that's like injecting you and causing everybody cancer, and the global cabal can push a button and kill everybody.
Right.
Like, whoa. Like if that had been told to you like 1,000 times, you'd be like, whatever. But when it's like this new idea and it spreads, people are like, holy shit, it's new and shiny and it's a crazy conspiracy. But aliens is like, it's like so lame at this point. I don't think anybody cares anymore.
Yeah.
We're just a very overstimulated society. Like we would have to have little green men literally just land in the middle of Hollywood and just walk up to Chris Rock at the Oscars and slap him in the face.
I mean,
and
at
then
that
people would
point,
be
I
like,
would even say like AI did it. You know, like yeah, I wouldn't like. I don't even know
well,
what
that
it
would
would
be
take.
the most logical conclusion.
I don't
if
even
you
know
saw
what it
that,
would
yeah.
take for me to get to believe aliens at this point because it's like AI is so prevalent. I'm almost like I can't even be convinced.
So then the other side, there's another camp that is saying like this is all just a great secret. It's all technology that is human. It has just been kept away from humans for a long time. We as a species are way more advanced than most of us realize. There are secret organizations, there are cabals that have access to this information, and most of us don't. Do you think that is more likely?
I don't know. Do you believe in that, or
I really, God damn. I don't know, man.
can I tell you? I had like an experience one time.
Did you? An alien experience?
Well, I had an experience where I was like, "What the fuck?"
When we were in Washington or different?
Well, I've definitely had that.
Yeah.
But I had a sober one when I was driving on the 5 freeway north. I was like driving from San Diego to San Francisco, and this was about like 2 a.m. Okay, so there's nobody on the roads really, and I'm driving north on the 5 in like Modesto area. There's like nobody around. Okay, and I see this like horizontal there's a horizontal line with 3 lights on it.
Yep.
And this thing starts just like maneuvering in ways that I've never sort of like seen. And it's like, it's probably like 1,000 feet in the air. So like and I'm like, what the hell? And then this thing just keeps on flipping and turning and doing all kinds of weird shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what was that?
I've had a few of those, dude. I think I've had a few of those where I'm definitely like, there's no explanation for this.
Yeah.
I think that this is, how we often talk about how the answer is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
This is one of those situations where I definitely feel like it's not. The answer is not in the middle.
Like,
The
this is not a
answer is
Pareto
that-
principle.
No, the answer to this alien question is either that we are absolutely surrounded by them all the time, and that the human species is so overwhelmed. I mean, think about these idiots in charge, these actual fucking morons, right? That you would like to call.
I call
fucking
anybody a moron.
These actual morons that are in charge. These people would not know what to do, how to communicate, how to handle the issue of an alien race actually on this planet. And then you think about the fact that there's collaboration required between countries. We hate each other. There's no collaboration. Everyone's hiding from each other. Everyone's thinking like, let me extract the most information in my country, keep it from the other countries. You think that China, US, like Iran, any of these countries are going to talk to each other about the incidents they've had? Nope, they're not going to, because they're all scared and they don't know. So on one hand of the argument, I think it's like, we're surrounded by aliens, we're not collaborating, and there's no good source of information because there's no source of truth and no one knows what's going on. And everyone thinks, is it China? Is it another country? Is it a technology I'm not aware of? Is it aliens? What do we tell the citizens? What would happen if we put it on CNN? How much information should we give away? What do we say? Let's set up a secret group to go and study this. Let's put like only $500 million, $1 billion. Let's go study this. That's one side of it. On the other hand, it's all a joke. It's never been there. There's nothing to it. And I think that it's just like either secret technology or it's nothing. It's nothing, and it's always just been a nothing.
I'm on side nothing, but I do see both your sides. Like I'm not going to discount either side.
I mean, what would the middle argument even be? That it's like,
Well, like what I saw, for instance, I saw this like horizontal kind of wing with 3 lights on it. I saw no like central engine or anything. This thing looked so fucking weird. And it was literally like spinning and flipping and doing all kinds of weird shit. And I was like, this is very unnatural, but like where I land, like, first of all, I definitely see both of your arguments within the framework that I saw. Where I land on is like, it's just something I don't understand, like I don't have like thorough knowledge of like avionics to understand like what that could have been. It could have been a bunch of shit that I'm like unaware of.
yeah. And I mean, most situations are like the one we had where we see something that feels very otherworldly and it is just like terrifying, only to be like some jet you just had never heard of. Or some
SpaceX.
satellite that just happens to go across the planet every 90 minutes that you just saw for the first time. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I feel like Basil brought up a good point in chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, if all these
You talk about
governments
chat
are,
as if it's like a person. I like that. It's like
Yeah.
an entity to you.
Yeah,
It's
chat.
chat. Well, I used
it's
to watch
just-
a lot of Twitch streams, and this
Is that what
just
this
you
is?
just see a chat.
Are you
Chat's just
pulling,
like
like,
an entity.
Twitch
It's like this
lingo into this?
organic
Okay,
being
I'm
that
just-
you interact with.
Before you start talking like that, you got to get me up to speed on these things. You
Sorry.
gotta teach me
I
these
figure, I
things.
figure you're such a
Hey.
boomer sometimes.
How's chat doing? Okay, I am a boomer. Go ahead.
So anyway, chat was like, all right, all these governments are just recovering aliens and alien vehicles all the time. Like, why has there never been a private entity that's ever found one?
That's a great question.
Like, where's
Or
the,
like a government that's like used it to its advantage. You know, like they take
Well,
that tech and like
where's just the guy who has a farm and he's just like, oh yeah, this like green guy just crashed in my field.
yeah,
And
we
he's
just want
like-
to save him. You know, we just want to keep him there, keep it under
The
under
government,
wraps.
they always show up at the last second and quarantine the whole area and just
keep it under wraps.
keep the whole thing under wraps. They can't give everybody health care, but they're like really, really good at getting all of the little green men, no matter where they crash,
I want to know what Marty says
hiding them
about this.
Okay.
forever.
Marty had some discussion about this in the Discord today. So here's my argument for the answer is somewhere in the middle. There's so much bad data, right? That's somewhere in there. If a civilization were to, do you need this?
Yeah. Take
Yeah.
it.
If a civilization were to somehow advance past the paradox, the Fermi paradox, and become the stage of a civilization that could transcend its physical limitations and get here, it would all just be mixed in with all the bad data of what we're experiencing today. Say that this release that happened yesterday about, these aliens, the spacecraft, was just somehow mixed in with a real sighting. Like, I think that the argument for it's somewhere in the middle is that the Fermi paradox simply states that it is highly unlikely that, what it states is either highly likely or highly unlikely that there is alien civilizations. And what it really comes down to is just like a pure nature of probability, the grand sheer size of the universe. If we get past that stage where we don't blow each other up and we don't ultimately have like an existential event that burns the planet alive, that alien civilizations should exist. There should be more than just us. So that is the paradox. And then the question becomes, if the universe is 13.2 whatever billion years old, why have we not had some kind of encounter? Perhaps we're not interesting enough. Perhaps the universe is too big. Perhaps there's so many factors, right? So I just think that ultimately bad data could be getting mixed with good data. And perhaps we have had encounters blended in with this experience of just like no sighting, no data.
I've never really understood this Fermi paradox thing.
Why?
I don't know. Like all this stuff makes sense to me. If you think the universe is infinite, well, then even if there are millions of species, right, the space that separates them is incredibly vast still that they would have to traverse, right?
Yeah.
So the number one prerequisite would be that they can basically travel faster than the speed of light
Right.
in order to traverse that. So if that's just physically impossible, right? If that's impossible, just as it's impossible for me to like put this iPhone through my head without knocking myself out,
Yeah.
like then it is what it is, and you can't traverse that space. And then if you also, multiply that by the fact that the universe is billions of years old, you have all of this time and all of this space.
Right.
It makes complete sense that nobody would interact to me, even if there were tons of civilizations, if you assume that it is not like possible due to the laws of physics to simply travel at that speed.
I get what you're
Then it all
saying.
just makes sense.
Sure.
Right?
It's not a Fermi paradox so much as it is just like a physical barrier. It's just like hard to get over that distance is what Stephen's saying. And I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're assuming that the civilization that does, if a civilization didn't break the speed of light, it would have to be one pretty close by, like for us to even have an encounter with them.
Or like have a means of prolonging their existence beyond,
Sure.
reasonable bounds.
Right. Where they've been in this local galaxy for quite some time, observing it, mastering it, owning it, extracted the power of the energy source of our sun, become like a stage, 3, I guess, civilization. And is that stage 3 where you take over the power of the local star? I don't know. Gotta revisit that.
They might not even be that cool. Like they might just be, you moved into this neighborhood and you have this neighbor and they're the closest one to you and they like kind of look over your fence all the time, but you're kind of annoying. They just happen to be the one that had the will to, I don't know, maybe they just live forever or something.
Okay, that's the Stephen
then they
paradox.
just-
I actually like that one
They
because
they're just dumb enough to be like, oh, I'm gonna sit in this craft for 900,000
Hold on,
years
because
and see what
this is-
happens, and
this
then they
is
get to
how
you,
I-
and you're expecting them to like be able to harness time and space, and then they're just dumb and boring. And
Are
you're
you
like,
guys super neighborly in your existence? Because like I would actually ascribe myself to this Stephen ideology or the Stephen paradox, where it's like, yeah, maybe I can get over to you, but I don't even wanna. You know, like I've seen it and I'm cool
Well,
where I'm
the
at.
ones who want to get over to you are
Yeah.
often the ones you least want to interact
Yeah.
with. Like the aliens who like want to come to us might be really annoying.
So I guess I want to go. I want to go back to my original question: how neighborly
Oh my
are you
God.
guys? Because like in my current instantiation of myself, I have neighbors, and I do not act that neighborly because I find it to be like a better risk return to not be.
I have like two neighbors. One of them criticizes my trash can location once in a while, and that's like the only interaction I have with him. The other is like,
That sounds like a very neighbor thing to say.
yeah, the other's like pretty friendly. He gives me many tennis balls for my dog, which I accidentally throw into the other neighbor's yard all the time, so I need replacements.
Accidentally.
Which might be why he is saying this to me. And we say hi in the morning, but it's not like, we interact. But that's like it.
That's the perfect neighborly dynamic because like I have this thought where it's like if you get too neighborly, it's like toothpaste. It's like you can't put it back in the tube, like you can't go back. And I have this fear of my neighbors where it's like I like being the wave guy. I don't want to be like the now you come to me for all your shit guy.
Well, I don't like being the come over guy.
Oh, me too. That's
Please, or let me come over.
yeah. And like I don't want to get it too comfortable where like now you're
Like again, unless you found a unicorn neighbor who's just like the
And-
coolest people.
And listen,
ever.
I understand there's upside there. There could be some rad neighbors, but like I am like too risk averse. I do not want to open the tube of the toothpaste
Well, I feel
and
you.
let this shit go.
But to put it like a tinge of like seriousness on this, I think that there's a cohort of every civilization and society that are the explorers, and some of those people are very interesting, and every society has those people. So like an alien civilization or our civilization, like just think about the type of person who'd go to Mars. That's the alien that's going to visit us. It's exactly the same thing. That personality, but again, exactly the same thing, air quotes, comparing a human being from planet Earth to whatever the fuck is a conscious being,
yeah.
if we can even call it that might visit us.
It's a wide spectrum.
The
Could be
biggest thing for me is that I've always had trouble with is I watch a lot of science channels. I'm a huge fan now of like, in particular, David Kipping and many others. He was recently on Lex. I've mentioned this on the pod. He studies exoplanets and he's a cosmologist, and I love this stuff. But like, I think that we often put a human lens on it. We often try to like imagine what it would be like to interact with something that makes sense to our five senses. And I just think that that's flawed. It's just completely flawed. What we would interact with if we interact with anything, we're assuming that it's from an Earth-like planet. Why? Because that's all we have. That's literally all we have. All we can do is go look for life that comes from planets like Earth with water. Why do you think we're looking for water? Because we're looking for life that resembles our own life. We're looking for bacteria. We're looking for things that evolve into something that gives us an indication of what we believe to be life.
Well, it's a good point, and it's also like
But life could be far beyond that.
But we're also bound by our perceptions. We have five senses that we use to perceive
Exactly.
the world around us.
That came to be through the bacteria.
Yes, through like an evolutionary process of this life on
Exactly.
Earth.
Exactly.
And these,
what
like-
senses
these-
might come
These senses are so limiting
precisely.
that like
It is stupid to me
Like,
to even try
yeah.
to look. It's like, I think what's really happening with aliens is it's like you're looking through a looking glass mirror. It's like you're looking at it. And honestly, I oftentimes believe that it's just, sounds creepy. I'm sorry. I don't want you guys to get creeped out. I believe sometimes it's just sitting right here.
could be.
That's my belief.
Yeah.
Like, I believe consciousness permeates everything, all five senses, right here, right now. Like, when we pass on, when our physical form passes on, that's consciousness to me. And consciousness could house itself in many different states of physical being. Matter. That's what we're talking about. We're looking
Yeah.
for matter and energy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to resemble anything that your imagination believes that it can be.
And I like that they use the word energy because like energy is often like not visible to our human eye or whatever. And, you know, we're bound by our senses. So I agree with you.
And I can't find anyone that has these beliefs about aliens because everyone seems to want to look for the aliens that are a derivative of this physical form of being a human being. Why? And even David Kipping says, because it's all we have. It's all we can measure. It's all we can look for. It's more philosophical to look for the thing that is beyond. Because like, there's nothing to study if you're looking for the thing that is beyond the five senses.
can't
There's nothing
measure
to
it.
do. What
Yeah.
do you do?
Can't measure it.
So that's it. And
Oh
I
God,
think that's
you just reminded me of this moment I had in middle school where like the teacher like sat the class down and she, like a science teacher did like a thought exercise and she was describing like an alien encounter with some other race and she's like, and they had like a slash in the middle of their face and these white fangs and these two things and it just drive all these things in like horrific like
Scary.
descriptions, right? Scary. And then I was just like, that's a human. And she's like, draw a picture of it. And I just drew a picture like of a human and like everybody else was drawing all these monsters. And she like looked at my thing and it was like a human. And she's like, just looked at me like, you fucker. Because the whole point was straight. It's supposed to be this meta exercise on how like if like a different
You like
race encounter, they would
yeah.
describe us in these horrific terms, but to
Yeah.
us it would just be like, oh,
you
it's a
out-meted
human.
You out-meted her.
I meted the
What
fuck
do you
out
think
of her.
about that?
What
I was saying?
I think it's true. Like I thought that was true. Like as a 11-year-old boy, which is why I
Had
did that. Yeah.
Armand, you finally advanced to the mental capacity of an 11-year-old.
Wow. I made it. I made it.
My 11-year-old
That's
self
Steven's-
would shake your hand.
Steven's way of making a compliment.
Yeah.
Hey, when I was 11, I had that thought.
Yeah. Good thought though.
Hey, man, hope your podcast does well. All right. Well, I think this was great. I don't know if you guys have anything else you need to say. I think it's been quite a
No,
ride.
I think we're good. That
I
was
think-
that was a
I think
journey.
guys
I
are,
got what I wanted out of Eric.
You
for
guys are
sure.
sports
Brought out
geniuses.
Eric.
I can't wait to get
Eric-
more of your sports
Eric's gonna start
takes.
his own fucking terrible sports podcast.
Yeah,
We're all
talk
gonna
to me
be
more
guests
about
and get
sports, you
slam
guys. You're
dunked on.
geniuses.
You're kind of a sports elitist. And you're just an 11-year-old elitist. And I'm doing my best out here, folks. So thank you for tuning in. We love you. And this is the first of this new format. And we
Yeah,
hope you love it.
if you're still here, bless you. You definitely
Yes,
should
seriously.
subscribe if you haven't
I
already
want to
because
say
you're
thanks
special.
to Max and not Nick for your generous donations.
Yeah, and I believe that we're like 10. We're 11 away from 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So yeah, get us 11 more. Let's get to 1,000. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Tell a friend to subscribe. Tell your sister. Yeah.
I'll tell your sister.
stepbrother.
Yeah, tell your sister. Tell your stepbrother. Tell your cousin. Tell your friend at work who just needs to hear these hot takes. And let's get to 1,000. And then, of course, Nick's going to tell you more about this whole new model that we've set up. But the link is in the description. It is streamlabs.com/alfalfapod. We're going to do some fun stuff with it. We're not going to tell you what yet, but basically it's going to make this whole thing much more interactive, much more fun. You'll be able to, pay for certain things to happen on the pod, maybe even be able to take over the pod, maybe be able to tell Steven what to do or to not do. Maybe he needs to stop talking.
Take your pants off.
And yeah, maybe he needs to take his pants off, and you might just need to drop $1 or $2 to make that happen.
I think
So,
first we need to just
that's
start the
what's
pod
coming.
on time, but you know.
yeah,
after-
we'll work on the on time thing, and that's it. Thank
Take
you
us-
so much.
Yeah,
Take us
shout-
home, Jordan.
Shout
Take us
out
home.
Basil, Pat, Calcium, Max. Who else has
Absolute
been here?
legends.
Noah.
Absolute
Guys
legends.
are all-
Good night.
Guys are all legends. Love you.
Good
Love that
night.
you're still here.
In case
See you
I
all
don't
next